who is out there doing his very best to get the power back on. Please keep those folks in your prayers. Good morning, Kevin Miller, back from New York City. Thankfully, very back amongst the friendly people of Idaho, and a place with no humidity. So God bless you, and we're going to have a great show for you. Kicking off the weekend, we'll do that with Mr. Happy. We call him the impact player from Fox News Radio. No. It's not the face, Jonathan Savage. It's the heel, Ryan Schmelz. Good morning, Ryan.
No, I'm a heel now, and I get a new nickname from you every time. Mr. Happy, is that the new one?
Look, I just got back from the Marconi Awards, where I was around a lot of hype and hot air of the radio people. So you can understand I have I've upped my game a little with you, sir.
Oh, yes. Well, I want to give a quick shout-out here. I just stumbled upon I hate to use another network here, but it was a CBS News story about one of our Fox affiliate hosts, Big Mark Starling. Apparently, he helped organize a lot of good efforts down in Asheville in the wake of the hurricane there. And
Ryan. Actually, we have the guy that helped Mark Starling on 4 days ago from the network affiliated with you guys. So if you're going to bring Mark Starling in and WWNC Asheville in, you better. You're not dealing with your friends in Idaho Falls. You're dealing with us here. So you better up your game.
You took a good situation and then you went full blown heel with that. I love that, Kevin. Guy, you're learning a thing or two from the best right here.
I am. I do learn from you all the time. But yes, it was great that radio gets that. And literally the guy, my friend John Mounts was coordinating that with him. So literally the guy didn't hear from his wife for 3 days. So, and you know John Mounts very well. So you know the family. Yes, John Mounts is from the Kevin Miller family. So.
Oh, very cool. Heck yeah.
Yeah, but back to Mark. In one way, obviously an incredible tragedy. Another way, he's living a broadcaster's dream by being so incredibly valuable to the community. Imagine nothing worked except the radio station. So, and he didn't know his wife was alive till 2 or 3 days later.
Which is insane, yeah. And they have that reunion on there. I was like, oh man, no, try not to cry.
Well, yes. I'm a little bit more cynical, but that's why I'm here.
Jesus. Mark would appreciate it. He'd appreciate some heel work from Kevin and Ryan here.
You're right about that. So here we go. Will there be a debate? I've heard they've even asked you to be the host, and we would proudly. I don't know if Mark Starling would support you as much as we do here in Idaho, as much as Kevin Miller would, my friend. However, I've heard that they asked you to try and bring it home, and it doesn't look good for you.
Yeah, if there was one we're going to have this campaign cycle, I should have maybe reached out to some of these Senate campaigns and been like, hey, look, I'll moderate the debate. We'll do it on Fox. Let's go. And just shot my shot and saw what happened. But, here we are. I'm sitting here talking to you, and we're talking about how President Trump is not going to do a debate with Vice President Harris. He put out a statement saying it is very late in the process. Besides, Kamala stated clearly yesterday that she would not do anything different than Joe Biden, so there is nothing to debate.
Well, and this always drives one of your colleagues, Tanya J. Powers, crazy. Before we replaced her with you, and we love Tanya J. Powers, we love Gernal, we love the G-Man, and I'm being very sarcastic but very real, but from a political expert point of view, if you're Trump, you're just going to go all in. At least I'm sure that's what they're telling you. And then Harris has these incredible surrogates, including herself, that have just initiated this all-out blitz, sir.
Oh, they certainly have. I mean, the Harris campaign has been well-funded ever since, she got into the race. I mean, some of that, the good fundraising numbers they put up have been because of the fact that Joe Biden had hit a fundraising dud right after that disastrous debate performance. But, when we look at some of the Senate candidates and everything, one of the things that's holding the Republicans back this Senate cycle, Kevin, is that they're poorly funded. There was a one, not too far from you in Nevada, one of the key battleground Senate states. There was a candidate there, Republican Sam Brown, who was, he was doing pretty well in polling. We had it rated as a toss-up race, and then, he ran short on money, wasn't able to do as many campaign events, and next thing you know, he's trailing significantly. Now, we still have that state, I think, as a toss-up, but, Jackie Rosen, the Democrat incumbent there, does look like she's in good position, but, anything could happen on Election Day.
Well, you're right. And, Sean Hannity had on an election expert yesterday. They're talking about polling and underpolling. And I know the people that you talk to probably are still very concerned about if they're compensating, overcompensating, or undercompensating for this, mysterious Trump vote that seems to show up on Election Day.
Yeah. He has been notorious for overproducing on polls or outperforming polls. But I think we do need to remember, Kevin, that last election cycle, 2022, yes, he was not on the ballot, but Republicans were polled to do significantly better than they did, and it ended up being a relatively disappointing election night for them. So I think we need to consider all of that. And let's be mindful that Fox News polls are usually pretty accurate. So, I would gauge those pretty well.
Ryan, anything else you would like to share with us?
Oh, good question. Just another shout out for Mark. And I know that, Kevin, if you were in that position, you would step up too.
Well, on a much lesser extent, John Mounts and I did that about 20 years ago, but what he has done is truly historic. And sometimes we look at the story, and I know, it's one thing to do that. And a lot of people, Ryan, you know this, they don't understand the emotional toil of being that voice of Asheville and that community. But, certainly, to do that and to, worry about your wife, and now she's helping people in the downtown is, we can go home and watch WWE in Asheville. It's there every day. Yeah, exactly. It's a place that's not used to getting those storms like that. It's hopefully it's a once in a generation storm, and we won't be talking about this again anytime soon in that area. I know that hurricanes are a part of, the weather in our life, and they're going to be continuing, but, it was rare to see something like that happen in Asheville. And, it's horrible that they have to go through that. And obviously we're always thinking about them. So any way we can help, let's do it. Ryan Schmelz, that's why he's the face. Perhaps his face Shawn Michaels, if you will, back in his day. Yeah, face turn for Ryan tonight. It must be Friday or something. It must be. Ryan, you have a great weekend, sir. All right, buddy. What? What? Oh, hey, Ryan. I feel like every time I call in on a Friday, it's either I'm in like the best mood ever and I'm super nice, or it's like I go full blown heel and I'm just like, get me through this week. I need to go home. Right. And it'd be great if we were working afternoons, not mornings. Quickly, Oregon, Ohio State, who wins? Oregon, Ohio State. Which one do you want me to pick? I'm agnostic about it. Okay. Let's go. Let's be creative. Let's go with Oregon. Oregon would be great for Boise State, so we'll see how it plays out. Ryan, we'll hold you accountable on Monday. All right. I appreciate it. Sounds good, buddy. Thank you. Ryan Schmelz joining us, Fox News Radio. And we always appreciate that, and as we say, first of all, I apologize for the 2 travel days that I took to get to and from New York. I know it's very important that we, now more than ever, stay informed. By the way, we'll love to hear from you, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Thank you for all the wishes of winning the Marconi Award. But I think, and no, we didn't win. It was some guy from Fort Wayne, Indiana, and it's so funny the different stages you are in life. If I never win another award again, I think I can be happy because it teaches me such a good lesson about it's not about awards. It's about, now would it be nice to win? Sure. But it's about continuing the commitment to the community. And it's so funny because I went up and I started talking to people. I saw Ricky Smiley, who when he was unknown, had this dream of being he was a famous comedian. And Ricky has really risen to a level. He's a syndicated radio guy and didn't remember me from anywhere, but he gave me a little time and just, talking to people and really the communication. And, it was, like I said, I'm sorry we didn't win. But having won once, it was just great to be there. It was great to see everybody. And again, God has a plan, and more humility for Kevin Miller. Because I think if I really would have won, I really went like Ric Flair 1989. And nobody in Idaho wants Ric Flair 1989. And if you don't know that reference, if you didn't like the obnoxiousness between me and Ryan, it would be that 1,000-fold. So one thing, though, that in this world that we live in, and I won't, a lot of people won't say this, but I will say this, that radio, our beloved format, is under attack. You've had these electric car companies that want to get rid of AM radio. You've had companies that want to fire people in radio, and they say it doesn't work anymore, and it doesn't do this. And coming up next hour, we're going to have a friend of radio, Congressman Fulcher. And people don't use radio anymore. They use audio and all sorts of things. And then you look at the community of Asheville, North Carolina, that literally the phones didn't work, and I always, in my mind, thought about having, what kind of movie could I create where nothing worked except AM radio? And thankfully, you had a lot of people that still had radios, and when the phones came back, they called in to talk on the radio. Not to play music, not to hear about Diddy's little escapades, but to have a conversation. And there are many forms of talk radio. People go, you have callers and this, that, and the other. Yes, because it's a neighborhood. And Mark Starling, who's featured on CBS and the Wall Street Journal and everything else, that doesn't mean anything. What means more to him is servicing his local community. And that's why we're so privileged to be here every morning. Remember the old song we used to have? Every morning. We didn't listen to the lyrics of that song, thankfully. But every morning, and that's what we try to do. And we've got a lot to talk about. Another development in Meridian on 10 Mile. Really? Does Meridian does anybody ever say no to development, but Meridian does? The headline from the Statesman, school overcrowding. Hey, here's another development. And then you've got the ridiculous settlement between the city of Boise, led by Mayor McLean, over the police officer that had to sue over the former chief that, allegedly, or is it confirmed? Obviously he didn't get the injuries from an allegation. He got injuries from being choked, allegedly. So, $850,000, where's the outrage there? The politicians in this town are very, very, very lucky that they don't have that aggressive media. If there is aggressive media anymore, then you have Ada County Commissioner Ryan Davidson saying these red light cameras are going to turn Boise into Seattle. Hey, I give it to the commissioner, man. He's a big fan of Indian Creek Steakhouse. I hope he doesn't mind me saying that. But he's standing up for people. Remember the other day, we had our boy Kent Goldthorpe on, Ada County Commissioner. We love Kent. Whether we agree with Kent, we disagree with Kent, I love Kent. Not a lot of people, maybe they don't. But you take a look at what Kent Goldthorpe said, yeah, big whoop, Kevin Miller. Nobody complained, and I believe we had some people show up Wednesday morning, but they didn't know they could complain. They didn't know they could stop it. It's a whole topic of discussion. Then we've got the election. We've got Obama insulting black men, saying something about they're not down with Kamala Harris. And I'm going, you're going to insult the type of people that you're trying to appeal to. It reminds me of me as a kid, and probably sometimes as an adult. I would do the dumbest things. I hope you didn't do this. But, it is true you get more honey with vinegar. For me, I would get I would just insult people as terms of infection. Yeah, if you're dyslexic, that works. If you're not so much. But I was just sitting there thinking about just all the things we have going on. And, check out our website, some great stories on KIDOTalkRadio.com. Did you know one of the world's most securest locations is located just hours from Boise? That story we put up last night. Also, we were talking Oregon, Ohio State, and you're going to go, Kevin, please. I can hear Lucille right now going, oh, please, darling, don't do this. And then Camille House goes, well, I like it when you do sports because I watched Cal Berkeley. Thank you, Kamala. No. What I was going to say is we put up an article there where we had Ohio State, why every Bronco fan should be cheering for the Ducks. And there's a funny video from the Ducks. So if you get a chance, check that out if you need something uplifting. And you're a fan of the old Animal House movie. So we've given you a lot to talk about. You're welcome to join us at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Don't forget our friends at Hoagland Meats. We love them. They have been brought on to the entourage of the great program. Hoagland Meats, whether you're looking for chicken, stews, roast, a family box, natural Idaho pork. And by the way, they deliver to your house. And you can get 10% off now. Kevin Miller is the code. Kevin Miller is the code. I love it. HoaglandMeat.com. We're talking about Idaho born, bred, processed meat. So you don't have to worry about the bad stuff being in your meat, because we don't want the bad stuff in our meat. HoaglandMeat.com. We're rolling. Let's find out. Let's get into it. Would love to hear from you next. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller back home again on KIDO.
In the United States, I'm working with the director of FEMA. I'm marshaling all my state assets. We've been doing this now nonstop for over 2 weeks between Helene and this. And so if there's anything I can leverage to benefit my people, I'm going to do it. The fact of the matter is they put out a story saying I didn't even know she was trying to reach me, but she has no role in this process. And I've been dealing with these storms in Florida under both Trump and Biden. Neither of them ever politicized it. And in fact, all the storms I've dealt with under this administration, although I've worked well with the president, she has never called in Florida. She has never offered any support. So what she's doing is she's trying to inject herself into this because of her political campaign. So as the governor here who's leading this, I don't have time for those games. I don't care about her campaign. Obviously, I'm not a supporter of hers, but she has no role in this process. And so I'm working with the people I need to be working with. We're leveraging the resources I need to be leveraging. And for her to try to say that my focus should be on catering to her rather than worrying about my own people just shows she doesn't understand what it means to respond to these natural disasters.
There we have it. Ron DeSantis, Governor DeSantis, just laying the smackdown. And what a great leader. And hopefully one day what a great president he'll be. Let's go to Paulie in Nampa with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Paulie.
Good morning. Back.
Thank you, Paulie. Great to be back.
Yeah, I was concerned about you traveling to there and then back with that head cold you had. Flying is no fun to begin with, but then to have a head cold at the same time was like, wow, the guy's got some cojones.
Well, or he's not a very bright person. I'm going to go. He's not a very bright person. Yeah.
I may be shopping, but not right now. I ain't buying that.
Mm-hmm.
I did have a question for Volker, since you said he's going to be on the radio today with you.
Yes, he'll be up next hour.
I never get to call in before you talk to somebody. It's always after. And what I was going to propose as a question to him through you would be, heaven forbid this ever happened. I'm a Trump supporter day and night. But I have the question, if for some reason there's an upset and you know who seems to win,
your girl.
What is Marxism going to do to the country? I mean, you have a system that's set up for a payment system, basically. Is it going to change people's way they get money, and is it going to close banks or what? I'm just throwing out hyperbole, but how is it going to change? Does he have any idea how that might change, or is he even thinking about doing that?
Well, you know, Elon Musk said that they're going to prosecute him. That's one big change. They're coming for him.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, if it doesn't fit their narrative about being one of the LGBTQ plus, you're probably sitting in the crosshairs not realizing it. I think that's a big one. No, I'm sorry to hear that you didn't win the trophy, but you know, in loss you'll have a greater humility about you, knowing that you gave it your best shot and and you did what you had to do back in New York, and it's out of the voting, I would assume, is out of your hands. So you didn't have any say in it, but, I don't see you becoming any more humbler than you already are. But that's,
Well, it's funny. I think what...
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think what has happened, though, is that I will tell you that I believe that if I had never won and not known what it's like, that would be one thing. But I have won before. So on one hand, I think it's very selfish of me to be going to give other people the opportunity to win, but there's that competitive fire in you that never stops. And it's weird because as I get older, I feel more as a mentor to people. I was consoling people that had lost afterwards. And there was a guy in Philadelphia that had lost 3 years in a row and blah, blah, blah. And it was weird. The best night of the night for me was when, you ever heard of Curtis Sliwa, Paulie?
Oh, yeah. I got to talk to him once when I was talking.
Okay, so...
Yeah.
If you talk to Curtis Sliwa, he does all the talking. So Curtis Sliwa, the founder of the Guardian Angels, was there, and he and I had tried to help a small town in Pittsburgh, and he remembered me. And I was talking to another guy who thought, you have people that they live in New York, so they don't have they're nice people. They don't have Boise. What's that? It's a whatever. And so when Curtis Sliwa told this guy what I had done in Pittsburgh, the guy, kind of looked at me differently because the guy I was talking to was in a transactional business. But it was nice hearing kind words that it was 15 years ago. No, I'm sorry. It was almost 20 years ago. He remembered a guy in Pittsburgh that went into a drug-filled neighborhood with him trying to fight crime and the drug users. And I had one guy at this was an all-black neighborhood. I had a guy come up to me and said, look, I was here to beat your blank, but you're the only radio person that has ever come into this neighborhood, and I can tell that you care. And in essence, that's really what matters. It doesn't matter about a Crystal Award. What matters is our conversation right now, Paulie.
Well, that's what you do best. You talk to the people on a one-on-one basis. And all I was going to say is, now your ego can take a good shot, which it probably needs, and you're able to move on from here, and you come up with another award being presented to you for doing what you do best, and that's being on the radio and telling it like it is, Howard Cosell. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes, I never played the game, Howard Cosell. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, we're happy to have you back. We missed you. But
I missed you, and a lot of people in radio don't understand because they're not real listeners. But I know what it's like when you tune on the radio and your guy isn't there. I get it.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway,
well, I guess we
get to talk to Curtis Sliwa one evening when I talked to the Rich Valdez show.
And, yes. He's a New Yorker, that guy.
Yeah, he is. He talks like one, too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. He does.
Anyway, welcome back. I'll let you get on to your things. But if you could, ask Fulcher about what his opinion is, what's going to be coming down, or could be coming down with the change like that.
Well, I hear they're coming for you.
Well, good. I'm ready.
Paulie, have a great day. Thank you.
You too, sir. Bye.
Coming up next, we will, we'll hear from you. Don't forget our friends at Hoagland Meat, hoaglandmeat.com, all Idaho-grown meat. And we would love for you to buy some meat at Hoagland Meat. Great, fun, outstanding. And you talk about their steaks. Holiday gifts for someone who has everything. Hoagland Meat, they deliver right to your home, right from Homedale here to the Treasure Valley. Let's get you to work safe with. And it's weird because we were at this table, and I want to thank again Mateo from Kiss FM, who, like Bo, like Sweet William, like Kelly Pigeon, like Sean Mouse, on our Marconi task force. And so you get to sit with some people, and Mateo has this feeling that, and if you've ever been at a hoity-toity place or a fundraiser or everybody has charitable dinners, and they do such a great job in the Treasure Valley. So the closer you get to the front, the more, compelled you think you're going to win. So this is the closest we were at the table. We got a chance to speak to, it's been kind of a reunion because some people from other stations, they were nominated as well. They didn't win. And I'm sitting there, we got a chance to speak with this guy who is one of the most integral people that work with one of our big talk stations. So I spent the whole night talking to him about talk radio, which was fascinating. And he said, Kevin Miller, we hear a lot about you, but we hear, that your show could be anywhere because it's a national show. And I said, well, it's a challenge because there isn't a lot of local news. But then all of a sudden we have a smorgasbord. Now we have the Ada County commissioners and ACHD having a meeting. Ryan Davidson, Ada County commissioner, beloved by conservatives, grassroots guy. We may disagree with him on some issues, but Ryan has always been great with us. So Ryan calls out those folks at ACHD, and ACHD is just taking a request from liberal Boise Mayor McClain. So you have that issue. Then you have an issue that probably won't get a lot of play, which is this issue involving the lawsuit the city settled for almost $1 million. Almost $1 million with the officer who, can I say allegedly, Sweet William? Oh, there's a file on me for many things, so you're going to be, that's right, just be overly cautious. Shut up and do your job. Okay. So your fun time is over. It was not fun, as Paulie said, having this cold for a week and get back to work. Okay, thank you, Sweet William. So back to this thing. So here you have, when you think about, and it's not personal with Mayor McClain, I think she's probably a very nice person, very charming, and I could see why the liberals, I could see why Pete Buttigieg and her have a very good kinship and a working relationship. But on the other hand, when you take a look at what has happened in the city of Boise just with these police settlements. So you got 800 over a guy that she hired. And maybe because I'm from east of the Great River that I don't get it. But $850,000. What was it? $700,000 for the investigation of the unsubstantiated allegations of racism within the Boise PD? And then you throw in the golden parachute to the former chief. That was what, $150K, $100K, $150K? That's what? Almost $2 million? 1.7, 1.8, let's round up to 2. And the best that she could do to be challenged was by Mike Masterson, a great guy, but he would rather retire. And look, when you're tired and you like to ski like the former chief does, you don't want to deal with politics. But Boise deserves better than this. And this is nothing personal. We're not even talking about the EV mandates and the red light cameras, but just from a competency point of view. Boise deserves better, in my opinion. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should be like everybody else and just be everybody's friend. It would probably I'd probably win the Marconi if I did that. But to me, talk radio has to have this type of relationship. And then you go to, just again, the barrage of things happening today. Are we going to touch what's going on in Caldwell High School? It could be easy to bag on them. And, there's a lot of issues that are beyond the good people in Caldwell's control, but that has to be addressed. And yes, Meridian wants another development on 10 Mile because One Eagle Road isn't enough for them. So we've got a lot to talk about. Let me tell you about our friends at the Hoagland Meat. We love Hoagland Meat. Great holiday gifts, 10% off the Kevin Miller or any package. Just say Kevin Miller is the code. And I've had their steaks. It's going to be a great experience for you. Okay, let's get to a couple of other things. I promise we will get to some local stuff right after the Sean Hannity update. I'm just one of those people that I can't figure out where to go. And you're going to, well, Kevin, you're paid to do this. You're right about that. However, there is something going on within the presidential realm the presidential campaign, you're certainly not going to hear it locally. You're not going to hear it nationally. Maybe from Sean. But here's the deal. And people say that Donald Trump has lost a step. I wouldn't be surprised if he has lost a step. The guy is superhuman. And it's so funny that everybody is so quick to go on and after Donald Trump, President Trump. There is no one in the world that could withstand the barrage that he has taken on. We can talk lawfare. We can talk the Republican Party, Liz Cheney, Mitt Romney. And let's not throw in the not one but two assassination attempts. That's a lot of stress, man. You know, nothing personal against all of us that have embraced mental health. You know, we're worried about our anxiety. We're worried about stress. We're taking it easier. We're protecting ourselves. That's not Donald Trump, man. That's not Donald Trump. And you can't tell me he's doing this because he's selfish. The Democrats are scared. By the way, do appreciate Greg Pruitt coming on about our own local battle with the Democrats and Republicans. Check out the Idaho Dispatch today. However, the Democrats are scared. They should be pulling ahead. She's a lousy candidate. Nobody likes her. They want to like her, and it ain't happening. They've brought out Obama. They brought back Bill Clinton. We have never seen a Democratic Party so unified. The only person they don't want campaigning for probably is the guy that could help her win the election is Joe Biden. We'll get to him in a minute. But here we have Barack Obama lecturing black men and young black men that he knows what's best for them.
I'm speaking to men directly. Part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for it. The women in our lives have been in our backs this entire time. They've been raising us and working and having our backs. And when we get in trouble and the system's not working for us, they're the ones who are out there marching and protesting.
You know, with all due respect, shame on Barack Obama for going after moms and single moms directly to appeal to a woman that can't bring it home. You know, a lot of things I can't do anymore. Probably run a mile, do 5 push-ups, anything of that nature. But shame on him for lecturing people for not buying what Kamala's selling. And basically insulting the group that is so disenchanted with the Democratic Party. They're voting for Donald Trump, a person they've called racist, a person they've made all these allegations against. But they're scared. Barack Obama is back. Remember, he didn't really embrace the Biden campaign until the very end when he and Joe, they heard about what we did here in Idaho with our drive-in party. So they would have campaign events at drive-ins, and there were like 8 cars. So here you have Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and Kamala Harris is so desperate that she wanted to be inserted. There's one of these people, and again, you may or may not know this name, Andrea Mitchell, ABC or NBC News, when she's reporting that Kamala demanded to be a part of the hurricane relief, that it was all being political, it was all being orchestrated to put up somebody. You know, the one of the toughest things in life, I was going to say lives, but I stopped, in our lives, on KIDO Talk Radio that plays out every day, is the issue involving, the tough issue involving when someone isn't up for the job. Now, I've been through the fact where the people you work with in other parts of the country are out to get you. They may not sabotage you, but they don't help you. And what we're seeing here is a person that's not qualified to be president. Say what you want about Barack Obama. He was qualified to be president. Joe Biden when he was elected, maybe kind of, sort of. But she just, there's no appeal. What is her core group? That she's female? That she's an accomplished litigator? Look, I may not like Susan Rice. I may not agree with Susan Rice. I may say that Susan Rice is a radical. We would be in trouble if it were Susan Rice. And maybe it goes back to Joe or Brock picking her. But if you had Susan Rice or Valerie Demings running right now, prominent African-American women, liberals, this race would be a little bit more in their favor. And you in California know all about her. And please don't forward this to Media Matters. This is just a accurate political observation. This is a candidate that can't bring it home. She's outspending Donald Trump by gazillions. It's not working. And part of it is that I went to Albertsons last night, my first stop. Back from New York, Mrs. Miller said, okay, your fun time's over, buddy. Get to work. And I'm out there at the grocery store. Saw one of my buddies. I'm there all the time. He said, welcome home. I said, thank you very much. The working people of this country, which has no racial divisions, we see what they've done to us. And we don't, and when she says it's hard, she has no answers. She's a person that's been propped up for years and years and years, starting back with California, Willie Brown, and everybody else. She never had to earn it. And so for Barack Obama to come out and go after black men this is how desperate they are. But what we're going to hear is that Harris is pulling away. Do you believe that? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller on your home for Hannity, KIDO Talk Radio.
KIDO Talk Radio. Your morning espresso starts right here. It's the Sean Hannity Morning Minute.
Kamala, you keep saying you'll fight inflation and immigration on day one. Wasn't day one January 20th, 2021? And Joe Biden, didn't he just say that you were there to make every decision with him? And didn't you claim that you were the last person always in the room? Why did you say you'd never deport illegal immigrants? Why did you think AOC's proposal of even a 70 or 80% tax rate was fantastic? Why did you brag about getting sex reassignment surgery for prisoners, convicts in jail? And can you explain what you mean by constantly saying what can be unburdened by what has been?
The Sean Hannity Show from coast to coast later today.
When I was growing up, my father used to make me get up on that ladder and clean out the mud and the muck and the leaves inside the gutters. It was a horrible chore. I dreaded it. And you know what? Now there's a permanent solution. It's called leaffilter.com/Hannity. And right now, it'll protect your home from flooding, roof damage, siding damage, and foundation damage. Every installation with Leaf Filter comes with a free inspection, estimate, lifetime guarantee. Now, a Leaf Filter trusted pro is going to clean out, realign, seal your gutters before they ever install Leaf Filter. Protect your home, your biggest investment. Never clean out those gutters again. It is a permanent solution. America's #1 gutter protection system. Schedule your free inspection and get 30% off your entire purchase. LeafFilter.com/Hannity. LeafFilter.com/Hannity. That's a free inspection, 30% off. LeafFilter.com/Hannity today. And you can see, and by the way, they have additional discounts for.
And there we have it. We have additional discounts. Thank you, Sean Hannity. Yeah, I don't know about that. Bobo was telling me off the air that possibly Boise State could be playing Alabama in the college football playoff. I don't know if Alabama's going to make it. Anyway, a great story on our website, Oregon and Ohio State, why every Bronco will be cheering for the Oregon Ducks. And as you know, I like ducks. All right, have we solved the world's problem? Let's get to something local. And what is the most immediate thing? The situation in Boise. Oh, that's right. And I want to give props to Lee Joe for a story that he broke on the Kevin Miller program. Well, it seems like years ago, but the Meridian officer who, arrested the little boy, the video and everything else. That trial's going on next week. Now that officer has been moved to Boise, and the parents went on Channel 6. Excellent reporting from Channel 6 on that one. Not a lot of fluff on Channel 6. What's that, Sweet William? They did have the guy eating the apple. Well, that's Alex. He's a nice kid. But, where do we begin? I think we have to go to Caldwell. I think we have to go to Caldwell High School. And being the only radio show in Idaho that has broadcast from Caldwell High School, I can tell you what it's like in there. No, it's been several years since we broadcast from Caldwell High School, and the reason why, the principal at the time didn't like our show. And I can remember the principal telling the still superintendent, who was fairly new there, that she didn't want us there. Which, the Boise school system, they didn't want us there because of our political beliefs. And I understand that. Look, we're not here to attack people. We're here to inspire. We're here to promote. But I'm just going back to my experience at Caldwell High School, and we were in the place where they all meet, and, we had a kid on there. I said something about, these kids are all gone by now. And I said to them, I go, hey, man, what's it like here? He goes, oh, this is like a prison. I go, prison? Because when you have kids on, they could say anything. And so the principal at the time blamed me. And I remember talking to the superintendent. So we went to other schools in Caldwell. Look, we love Caldwell. Great people in Caldwell. And Caldwell deserves better. Chief Ingram there, hard-charging guy, has talked about the gang problems, has talked about the challenges. There was some movement. I mean, when you cancel your homecoming parade, there's issues. And remember, we had, wasn't it the school board in Caldwell that they wanted to have the women in the little boys go in the little girls' bathrooms? So they were so worried about the women or the men who wanted to be women. It totally, we changed the state law because of it. And that was the school board. So the school board was so focused on that, and you had people that it made national media. Remember Fox News? It was our friend, the Trakels, that brought this up. It was our friend, the Trakels. Senator Trakel and his wife, Nicole. And so you have me being booted out of there. You have them trying to get the transgendered vibe going, and then they canceled the homecoming parade. And now we have published reports that someone brought a weapon to school, and thankfully they were turned in. And I'm watching this report on Channel 6. I'll give them credit. Apparently there's no school resource officers there. What's going on in Caldwell? Let's talk about it next. Kevin Miller.
Up against anyone in terms of the work I have always done and will always do to ensure we have a secure border.
Why not start the day with a laugh? Good morning, Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio, Idaho's talk station, home of Clay and Buck. And, of course, great conversation in the Gem State. Our phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO, joined by our great conservative Congressman, Russ Fulcher, joining us. Congressman, great to have you with us.
Kevin, it is always good to talk to you. It makes my day better every time.
Well, we appreciate that. We'll try to live up to that, sir. And by the way, I got a little insight into your world, your old world and your new world by being in New York for a couple of days. We literally were staying at the Hotel of the United Nations, and I thought of Russ Fulcher while I was there because I'm thinking, well, as a congressman, as a businessman who traveled internationally for years, you dealt with people that, kings and regents and diplomats of countries, of, presidents and stuff. And they're a different brood than just about any other type of individual you'd find when you are dealing with people representing other countries or going to other countries, representing a company or your country. And I found them probably the most unique type of people that I've ever met in my life.
Well, and you were in the melting pot of melting pots, Kevin. And, New York City is probably the most diverse in terms of that type of thing. And, there's some life experiences that come out of that. I mean, you'll get some value there. You get a feel for how other people think and how other governments, how other operations, how other societies work. Frankly, I think that was one of the things that gives me just a little bit of an advantage. Is over the years I did a lot of that international stuff, and you at least have an understanding or an appreciation for other approaches or other mindsets or other societies. And, frankly, it usually makes me feel better about America and Idaho and appreciate America and Idaho more by being exposed to that than not. But it'd be interesting to hear your perspective on that after your recent visit.
Well, you are so lucky as a native Idahoan, because this will really hit home to you. Look, wherever you go, even in Washington, the people were more friendly. And I suppose you have to be this way when you're literally servicing the leaders of these foreign countries. But I found a lot of pretentiousness there. And, when you – please go ahead.
You just triggered a memory. I used to wonder about, downtown New York and downtown Paris. I thought, okay, these two cultures are competing on who can be the most rude. That was my memory, because you get a lot of bluntness in that downtown New York mentality, and you feel the same thing, or at least I do, in downtown Paris. And so when you made that statement, that just kind of triggered a memory.
Yeah, no, I couldn't believe it. And I thought to myself, wow, it's like in Idaho, and you're obviously the best example of this. People are approachable and friendly. And wherever I've been, I would at least find some person. I finally found like the maintenance man who would talk to me. And then he told me about the inside of what happens in the buildings and such. But there it was like the anti-Idaho being in the UN. You have the people with the foreign languages, and they literally, the stuff that we like look at casually, they are really determining foreign policy within their governments and our governments. And it happens. So I guess you have to be a very special breed to be a part of that.
I think you're right. But just if you take a look at the citizenship, Kevin, where are people moving to? They're moving to places like Idaho. They're moving from places like New York. I was talking to a colleague from upstate New York recently, and I hadn't realized it, but he told me that New York State has been losing representation since the 1960s because, House of Representatives, the number of the House reps is based on population, right? And there was a time when New York City was the largest city by population in the world. And now that is just not the case. People are leaving there. Now, what you see and what you've been describing is a little bit different. It's still kind of that international melting pot. So people, from foreign lands do often come and they land and get started in New York and that type of thing. But at the end of the day, people don't like that environment, generally speaking. They want to move somewhere where there's real people, where there's a friendly environment, where you've got a quality of life that you can raise a family, not have to worry about going to the 7-Eleven and getting mugged, and so it's an incredible place. There's no question about it. I'm talking about New York and Washington, D.C. for that matter. You learn a lot. You get exposed to a lot of different things. There's some value to it. But when it comes to this thing called life, as for me, I pick Idaho.
Well, and we're very happy that you did. We have a question from Paulie, Congressman Fulcher, who says, what happens if Kamala wins? What happens to all of us? How do you see the federal government going? And we'll say we'll just give you that scenario, and then we'll ask if she takes over everything with the House and the Senate. But if there's an upset and Kamala wins, what do you think? How does our life change, sir?
Well, I think that those two issues are connected. It depends on what happens with House and Senate. As you know, right now we've got by a very slim margin just the House, and so what you have is you've got a scenario where the House is playing defense for the most part because we're the only segment of a branch of government that's got any degree of conservatism remaining, and so we find ourselves in a defensive position a lot of the time. If Harris wins, then you've got the the emboldened mindset of socialism at the top of the food chain for 4 years, and that's in my opinion, that's just a really bad thing, because that's what she wants to do. She won't use those words, but it's all about government control. It's all about government programs. When you have government programs, it means by default you have less individual decision making, decision control, and the next thing you know, we're fully transitioned into a Western European style socialistic mindset. And that's hard to return from. And so there's tremendous amount of damage that will occur. And to be honest, there's been a tremendous amount of damage in the last 4 years since President Biden has been in place. If the House and the Senate were to stand and flip over to a more Republican conservative, that's a better word to use, really, is a conservative traditional policy set, then you can offset a lot of those things. You can block a lot of those efforts by a liberal socialistic administration. But heaven forbid if we lose all three, and I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't think that's going to happen. But if we did, then America is charted on a course that will be very difficult to return from. And when I say charted on a course, I'm talking about that socialistic mindset. It's going to be really hard to return from that. What will happen, Kevin, is it will solely depend on states, which is still a backstop to a lot of these federal approaches. But so there's still the genius of the states that and that system of 10th Amendment state control, which is a buffer. But from a federal standpoint, that would not be a good thing if we lose to Harris and the liberals take over the House and Senate as well.
No, it would not be. Let's talk a little bit about the battle for the House. You touched on it a moment ago. Do we have enough financial resources to keep the House? And again, this is why we love having you on, Congressman Fulcher, here on KIDO Talk Radio, because you're in the fight. The media is going to tell us they're going to win regardless, but you see what's happening. You see the polling, what's really happening on the ground in these battleground states when we're talking about the House.
I have to tell you, and I know, Kevin, I'm an optimist by default.
You are.
But I have to tell you, it does look good to me. I think things are pointed in the right direction. I think the Harris campaign, and let's face it, all of the down ticket votes through the congressional channels are attached to the Harris campaign. And that Harris campaign is, I believe, being exposed. Even with the aid of all of their friends in the mainstream media, I believe they're being exposed for what they are. And that's taking place in swing states just like it is everywhere else. And I was involved and have been involved with several races with colleagues in tight spots, swing races. And we were doing some analysis here in the last few days, and there's every single one of them, the conservative side is being outspent. It's amazing to me where some of this money comes from, especially on the liberal front, but it just seems to pour in. And so, but that's been the case for a while. So the conservatives are being outspent by a significant amount, but still the trend is coming, I think, in our favor. And, you as a candidate, you hate to say it, but at least publicly, but there's only so much money can do, right? I mean, we'd all like to have plenty of campaign money, and I'd like to have more and all that kind of stuff. But campaigns are a bottomless pit. At the end of the day, you've got to figure out a way to connect with people personally. You've got to figure out a way to let them know who you are for real. It can't be on a postcard. It can't be through TV commercials or just endless social posts. I mean, all that stuff is exposure, but you've got to reveal yourself and put what your true motives are to people. And once you do that, then they'll make a judgment, and they'll usually make a really positive judgment. But just buying exposure just doesn't get it done. So the bottom line answer to your question is I think it's trending in a positive way. It still depends on good people being engaged and willing to be educated on the issues and then do something about it. But I think things are going in the right direction right now.
Our great friend Congressman Fulcher joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Congressman, let's move to what's happening, and you being a man of faith. Obviously, the devastation on the East Coast and the allegations that FEMA used money that should have gone to Americans for the illegals. It's funny, somebody pointed this out. They can come up with money for student loan forgiveness. They can come up with money for this, for that, for the Ukraine. But hard to believe that we would ever say we don't have enough money for our own fellow Americans in need.
That's right. Well, if I may, I'd like to peel back the onion on what's transpired here. The Department of Homeland Security budget, which is where FEMA resides, was actually passed by the House. It went through the appropriation process properly. There were some limitations on it, as there should be, but it got passed by the House, but the Senate didn't act on it. And so what that meant was later on it got rolled into this second version of the continuing resolution. And we've talked about that in the past. This continuing resolution is a Band-Aid that keeps the budget going until there's a formal appropriation process. So anyway, it got rolled into the continuing resolution process to just keep it going until there's a formal appropriation. And without the SAVE Act, and the SAVE Act was the legislation that would have required proof of citizenship to vote. So when that got stripped out, people like me didn't support it. So I say that to point out that you'll see potential advertisements where Russ Fulcher didn't support FEMA as well as, most of the Republicans or whatever. Really not true. That's how that came down. So in the meantime, FEMA still has the money they've had all along of the revenue stream because of the continuing resolution. But apparently they've misused it. Apparently they have used that for entitlement money to non-citizens and a whole bunch of other things that it was never intended to do in the first place. So to make an analogy, if you're a parent and you give your kids an allowance and they decide to use that allowance to give it away to their friends, then they come back and say, hey, you know what, we gave this money away and now we need it for our lunch money. Well, just how much of a responsibility is it to the parents to continue to do that? Well, okay, now let's put the reality to it. Hurricanes, tremendous acts of God, tragedies. You got to do something about that. I get that. So given all of that explanation, my approach and what a lot of my more conservative colleagues are saying is, okay, fine, we understand. You need more FEMA money. You blew it. Okay, we're going to learn from that, and we're going to hold you accountable on that front. But at the same time, we've got Americans that are really struggling. So, yep, we'll do it, but you got to pay for it out of somewhere else. You can't just go add to the credit card. Take some of that money to the World Health Organization that you like so much, and let's defer that. How about some dollars from the United Nations that, frankly, just come back with this climate accord stuff where we get built for this money that goes into an endless black hole with no impact? How about the COVID money that's still out there? So I apologize for the long-winded answer, Kevin, but the bottom line is that the administration created a lot of this junk, but we still have Americans hurting. So I think the answer is yes, we do need to respond. We need to defer some more resources there. Just don't put it on the credit card. Take it away from other stuff that are sacred cows for the liberal side, since the liberal side is the one who misused this in the first place.
No, you bring up an excellent point, and it's fascinating that instead of asking questions, they never do the gotcha on the Democrats, and you explained it quite well. I mean, Department of Homeland Security, they're also over the Secret Service, have had a few uh-ohs as well. And you can't just move these things around, but it does appear that we can find money for Zelensky, but we can't find money for Asheville. And you as a patriot, a congressman in Idaho, and I never thought that we would live in a world where that would be the case.
No, but that is the case, and that's how some of these people think, because some of these, foreign war actions actually play to their long-term benefit in terms of their own control and their own fiefdoms over the long haul. And so there's a tendency to get involved with that. That's a conversation probably for another day. But the bottom line is that, in my opinion, this administration has been woefully inadequate when it comes to being stewards of our resources. And of course, we've got to help our fellow Americans. We need to prioritize that. But it should not have to be by just adding to the debt, adding to the credit card. There's other places we can take that money from and redirect it, and that's what needs to happen at this point.
Congressman Russ Fulcher joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Congressman Fulcher, as we count down the days to the election, what is going on in Congress, if anything?
25 days to the election. Looks like there's going to be a high turnout. Congress is not in session. Literally, the collective we members are all over the place. I'm focused almost entirely in Idaho, but not completely. There's a couple of other engagements that I've got out of state, trying to help some colleagues so that we can grow the majority. And so, but other than that, it's campaign time, Kevin. This is what you call that go time window. A lot of early voting is taking place, not just in Idaho, but across the country. We know we have got to grow the majority on the House. We know to have a fighting chance against a possible new administration, you've got to switch leadership on the Senate side. And so, frankly, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, that's why I think the Speaker and leadership does not have session going on in the month of October, because everybody knows it's go time when it comes to campaigns. And for over 25 days, the American people are going to be blitzkrieged with endless ads and exposure and all kinds of campaign stuff, but that's the nature of the game. Personally, I'm still sensitive about the Prop 1 movement within Idaho. I think that's been very misleading to a lot of people. This ranked choice voting is not a good thing when it comes to anyone with conservative interests. It's just not. It's complicated. And I kind of segued the conversation there a little bit, but it's on my mind, and it's only 25 days away. And I think that's probably the single biggest thing that we've got to be concerned about in this state. This is not a good move for the people of Idaho.
Yeah, no, you read my mind, because that's where I was going. So a final thought, and this was true in Idaho. It's true across the country with the National Republicans. And it is a challenge, especially when you have people like the Cheneys who have gone full in for Harris. And how can you be a Republican and vote for Harris? Or Mitt Romney saying, people want me to endorse her and I'm not going to do that. But Congressman Fulcher, you have been a unifier in the state for years. How do you get people to see, if we agree on 80, 90, or 70% of things, that's a lot better than going with the libs and, being that unifying agent. We need that nationally and, of course, statewide more than ever.
You elevate the argument, Kevin, because the bottom line is that there's a lot of people, for example, that and they approach me all the time. They really don't like Trump's mannerism, his posts out, his public displays, his style. And, I get it. I entirely do, but we're down to a binary choice here. And it's the direction of the country, and it's the economic and social fabric of the country for the future. So is he a perfect candidate? No, but that's just one example. You elevate the argument and say, okay, what's the alternative? And then if somebody really wants to engage with a debate that the Harris alternative is a better one, then okay, I guess we're going to agree to disagree, because what that means is you're embracing a totally different economic and social fabric for this country over time. So, we tend to, whether it's the local county central committee or the state legislature, or for that matter, even the U.S. Congress, we tend to get mired up in the personal flaws of whoever we're were conflicted with the local issues of the day, and those are all valid. But at some point, you have to say, wait a minute here. You got to lift the airplane up to 30,000 feet and say, what is the best for this nation moving forward? And most of the time when you do that, you find a lot more common ground, because you learn the enemy is not in the county central committee and it's not in the state legislature. The enemy are those who are trying to fundamentally change what America was designed to be and traditionally has been. So it's elevating the argument.
Congressman Russ Fulcher, we always appreciate you, sir. Thank you very much.
Kevin, appreciate you. Look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you. Our great friend, Congressman Fulcher. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Idaho, thank you very much for listening. KIDO Talk Radio, boy, you don't appreciate what you have until you're gone for, well, just 4 days, but we're back. We apologize for taking the time off. If you don't follow me on social media, and who has time for that stupid stuff, fascinating, though, how social media has taken over our lives. Let me get to that in a minute. But we didn't win the Marconi. We went to New York, but we had some good pizza, so it wasn't a bad trip. But as many of you know, and those of you that, let's just have a lesson in this from all of us, those of us that sometimes, to quote the great Linkin Park, you try so hard, but in the end it didn't matter. It's okay. We're all winners together. We're all winners as long as we have each other, and we'd love to hear from you at 580-5436-580-KIDO. Thank you again for joining us. We're rolling on the right side. A lot to talk about today. Great articles on our website, one of the world's most securest locations. And no, we're not talking about the Utah Hockey Club, do they call it? They don't have a name. Not the Utah Bigfoots. No, we're not talking about that. It is located just mere hours from Boise. Have you been there? Have you ever been allowed to be in there? Well, what is it? Find out on our website, KIDOTalkRadio.com. If you're a member of the Yap Yap Club, we will personally send you. I know you never get any spam email, and certainly our stuff, we don't think that it's spam. We hope that it's spam. We work hard so it's not spam. You'll get that story, and you'll be proud of that story, and you'll read that story and go, oh, wow. Forget the Marconi. Let's go for the Pulitzer. And again, if that didn't make you laugh, just like the Marconi, we failed again. Hey, by the way, I am so excited. And, in the old days, I used to be excited to go to a movie. I'm excited because this week or next week, I'm getting some windows from Window World Boise just in time for the winter. And I can't wait to save money on my windows. Yes, on my heating bill. So we'll be broadcasting from home next week, Thursday and Friday, because the windows will be going in. And I've got to figure out how to take down my blinds. But follow along with the process, windowworldboise.com, or make the investment and save some money and enhance the value of your home. They're doing a great job. We look forward to giving you that in real time. Window World Boise. Coming up next, back to the local issues. We've got Caldwell. We've got here. Let's see if I can sum up what's going on locally. Boise settles another lawsuit involving the former chief. Meridian says yes to more development as schools are overcrowded. Although, really, I think that's out of Meridian's hands when the schools are overcrowded. And Caldwell, controversy involving a kid allegedly bringing a firearm to Caldwell High. And no, the police officers were cut from the budget. Thankfully, according to local reporting, they have a private security team working hard. And as we know from security guard Mike, that's got to be a big, big challenge. And to all the good people in Caldwell, seemingly overwhelmed by the negativity, hang in there. We'd love to hear from you. Let's get you to work safely and on time, on cold or on your way to the hospital. You're in my prayers. We appreciate you. We don't know what we have until we lose our health or a loved one loses their health. And I just want to let you know that I feel your pain. And, for all the people saying, Kevin, get over the cold, we multiply that by 1,000 and hope that you get through your illness or sickness and feel better. It's great that the weather's getting colder, but that doesn't mean that, we shouldn't worry about people and their health, and certainly with the cold and the flus and everything else of that nature. Speaking of ill health, that makes two of us. Our great friend Kent Goldthorpe joins us, and we're talking about our mental health. Kent, great to have you with us here on KIDO Talk Radio. By the way, Kent is ACHD commissioner. We have commissioned him all things good and happy and wholesome about red light cameras. In fact, from what I understand, that he, like a knight getting knighted by the Queen, Kent is on his way to Boise to be knighted the czar of all things red light cameras by Mayor McLean. Kent, good morning.
Oh, I bet you practiced that the whole trip home from New York, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
And I didn't stumble once.
Somebody's going to believe you. You know that, right?
Yes. And, well, Kent, by the way, folks, he's not denying it.
Well, if I get in my car and drive in right now, I'll probably get arrested because I'm sitting here in my robe.
Well, thank you very much for letting us know Kent is talking to us in a robe.
Well, you send me those texts that are kind of the equivalent of what are you wearing, so there you go.
I don't know why we have this type of reference here, but, he still hasn't denied that he's not getting anointed the czar of the red lights. But, Kent, a contentious meeting the other day, what happened?
Well, yeah, it was. But first, a congratulations to the listening audience here. After I unloaded the other day on why that issue was on the consent agenda, and we talked a lot about things about the red light, the licensing agreement that we have, as well as the whole red light philosophy, the camera. One of the listeners called me. He called ACHD and got my private number, and called me here at home, and we had a great conversation about it. And two things happened. He decided that he would still like to have that moved off the consent agenda, and called, and we spoke with him, and he spoke with us at the meeting. And number two, we had even a longer conversation about him getting involved more in community affairs and maybe even politics. So it was a very productive conversation that I felt we had privately, especially. We explained to him everything that we've talked about.
Wait a minute. Hold on, Kent. With all due respect, two things we've learned already. Kent is in a robe, and he talked, the one person who responded to the 17 hours we did on this topic, to get involved in politics. But no wonder we didn't win the Marconi.
I guess you could always shut off the call and say that was like Liberal Steve sometimes when he's ranting and raving. But please don't. Anyway, but the best part was when one of our county commissioners, Ryan Davidson, after we'd been communicating for a while, he came in. And unfortunately, his testimony was completely based on why red light cameras should not be allowed in the first place, something that, of course, ACHD had nothing to say about. And hopefully when this whole contract, which, by the way, was approved, a licensing agreement, it's approved for a year, when it comes up for a permanent renewal, maybe, just maybe, there will be citizens that will show up there to actually give testimony to the city council, who controls all the power behind these kinds of decisions. Ryan had thought that perhaps our allowing a few square inches of space on our mast arms for those cameras on a temporary basis was tantamount to the camel's nose in the tent, allowing a much larger issue to come into Boise in the state of Idaho and possibly leave, and warned us that the legislature might be taking action against ACHD as a result of this. And, that was just not very productive or helpful testimony. We talked about that, his testimony, as well as...
well, didn't he say that this is going to turn Boise into Seattle? And now, in all fairness to you, Kent, because people may not get our humor, but I have the utmost respect for you. Could you guys have said, we're not going to approve this? Basically, what you had to do was, as you just said, you had to approve them using the light poles or whatever. But could you have said, no?
Absolutely, yes. We could have said no, but no one gave us any kind of a reason to say no.
So here's the interesting thing about this is, and again, we're not going to make it up as we go on this one on KIDO Talk Radio, but I don't even know if that was really given the citizens of Boise enough time to really respond to it. I don't know if they just kind of came up with this, put it on the agenda, and unless you're there all the time, you're not going to see it. So there was not like months and months of planning for people to voice opposition. So I don't know the answer to that. I assume that it wasn't, but without any opposition, so you approve this. Commissioner Davidson, again, conservative, Republican, libertarian roots. I don't think I'm speaking out of school by saying that. Obviously is not a fan of big government. Now, you did bring up an interesting point, and you're going to go, Kevin Miller, you wanted me on, and you won't shut up, but I am getting to you. ACHD has been under attack from the legislature for quite some time. You have documented those cases almost exclusively on this program.
Yes. Yeah, and it's going to continue. Just, hide and watch, get your popcorn or donuts or whatever you want and sit around for the show. It'll start again in January, if not earlier. I don't know what in the world we could do to prevent the kind of onslaught of negativity and negative legislation against that agency, the one that I'm the commissioner for. But, we deal with it when it comes.
Oh, there's Chipper Kent Goldthorpe here on KIDO Talk Radio. So here is something that is very fascinating. No one really wants to come out against these things because once you do and there's an accident, you're going to have people in the media saying, and they may be right, they probably are, that if you had cameras there, it would stop the endless tailgating. In fact, you had the people in Boise going, this is a public menace that needs to be stopped. But there are questions about presumption of innocence. So it's a topic that we'll debate for quite some time. But the idea that you have a lot of boneheads that run red light cameras all the time. When you go to Oregon, nobody likes that. Now they have speed cameras in Manhattan. It's fascinating, the nanny state control. So your thoughts? I mean, we discussed this the other day, but it from a just purely philosophical point of view, where do we go from here on this?
Well, you make some interesting comments and ask interesting questions. I think that even the entertainment value to your listeners on the agenda item about this, it was the only agenda item we had this Wednesday. And it lasted, there was no discussion from the staff because that had all been done in the work session the week before. So the commission was completely aware of all the aspects of this. It went strictly into discussion with the commissioners and with the public. And, people probably don't normally expect that Kent Goldthorpe will speak in public the same way he does on the radio or in private, but this time I did. I want to let you and every listener of this program understand that there are 5 people, some liberal, some conservative, on our commission that will be watching this particular project unfold and will want to know every detail about it, how it happens, so that we can make a decision whether or not to even allow this to be discussed and debated for a permanent implementation a year from whenever this starts. And I was very blunt with that. And it just won't continue if, number one, we aren't aware of everything that we need to be aware with all the questions that have been asked by us and the public up till now, and which may be developed during the next year. We want to see all the data. We want to see what exactly has to happen for a sworn officer to testify under oath, if necessary, that this red light was run absolutely dead to rights. We want to know all this stuff because we're not going to be guilty of anything that could be a detriment to the public just by virtue of our association with a program that shouldn't exist in the first place. So we're going to allow it on a temporary basis for a year to see if it can happen on a better basis than what several members of the public alleged happens in other states, other municipal, and We want to make sure that everything that was told to us is going to happen doesn't happen.
Kent Goldthorpe joining us here on KIDO Talk Radio. In his robe, anything else you'd like to share on this issue, sir? Or anything other issue before we get to Lee Joe, the news reporter?
Oh, gee, and he's probably going to bellyache about the red light cameras. I wish yes, okay. That we call the Yap Yap Club, right? Okay.
Well,
I'm getting him set off here.
Sending some heat to Lee Joe. Kent, we appreciate you and your robe. Anything else?
Well, we did get in a tiff over this whole thing after Wednesday because the statesman misreported some of the things that had been said, and it cast a negative light on our county sheriff. And so he wants to have some things clarified and a retraction. And so we'll see if that happens. We've asked as an agency for that to be clarified. But
well, what was misdone in the statesman? I can go upstairs there and deliver it to him personally.
Okay, well, we've actually approved, as has the city of Meridian and Nampa, some cameras that read license plates. And the only license plates they look for are license plates that have been disclosed of people who are involved in serious felonies, Amber Alerts, things like that. And there have been several major felonies that have been solved or stopped dead in their tracks as a result of those cameras. So we authorized them, and the sheriff came in and explained that and asked if they could use them in Ada County, and we said yes. And so they're either putting them up or have been put up or in some part of the process in 4 or 5 places in the county, and we were told that they had been disallowed at the county commission level. At least that's what we understood, because that's what we thought we heard. And that really made the sheriff upset because he wanted it all to be accurate, as do we. And so that's what got the little kerfuffle going with the statesman.
Kent Goldthorpe, thank you, sir.
Okay. Have fun, Lee Joe.
We appreciate you, KIDO Talk Radio. We go to Lee Joe. Now, Lee Joe, is this a long Lee Joe or a short Lee Joe on KIDO Talk Radio?
According to my clock, I've only got a few minutes. So,
or you could join us, or you could join us next hour if you're not working or you have some time. It's up to you.
I would probably enjoy the time, actually.
Why don't we do that then?
I do want to point out Kent is a conservative. I want folks to know he's a conservative. Him and I are going to disagree about things, but he's a better commissioner than Alexis Pickering, who's one of these that works hand in glove with the mayor of Boise. And there is an election for ACHD commissioner, and we can elect.
Okay, so Lee Joe, are you calling in like next hour, or are you going to talk now?
I can go next hour. Sounds good.
Why don't you go next hour, because I do have a lot of things to get to with you. As everybody else, thank you, Lee Joe. We'll talk to him right after Jared Halper next hour. 580-5436-580-KIDO. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kevin. Welcome back. Sorry to hear you didn't make the cut there. I've got a lot of opinions about the red light situation, former law enforcement in Sacramento County. The problem we had with the city of Sacramento and the county, first, those things have to have software upgrades frequently. Secondly, you have insect and also birds that will try to set up a nest in the cameras, and then they start having problems. And with the maintenance cost, it ran out more money-wise than the company that they contracted with. They had 3 different companies over a 7-year period before they started saying we're going to phase them out. And with the cost and losing more cases and gaining, I know Ken has probably really looked into this, and I know Coldwell has some that you already mentioned. When you go through those lights, certain people have loaned their car to someone else, so that's not the legally registered owner of the vehicle. Secondly, you have other people that have emergencies sometimes. They found out, like women were pregnant, were trying to get to the hospital. They would go through a red light, or their spouse when they're taking them. These are just some of the negatives. And then, like I said, the cost on the maintenance of the cameras were so prohibitive, Sacramento County went ahead and said, look, not doing it no more. The Board of Supervisors shot them down. It got rid of the program in several areas. And these were high areas that had fatalities in them, where people were getting killed that went through red lights. They proved who was wrong. It didn't matter. The person who was responsible was deceased.
That you're going through this. Very, very blessed to be with you on KIDO Talk Radio. Back from New York City. Coming up, Lee Joe has a report. We'll hear what Lee Joe has to say. Phone numbers here. 580-5436-580-KIDO. Always appreciate everybody with their phone calls and the Yap Club and everything else. Let's go to our great friend Jared Halpern joining us from Fox News Radio. And now, one thing we love about having Jared on is he's a man of the world. He's a dignified man, a qualified man, an intellect. And certainly we find having an intellect on this program very refreshing. Jared, good morning.
Wow, that's a high bar.
No, but it's true. I thought of you.
It's very kind of you. Thank you.
Well, I thought of you while I was in New York. We were literally staying at the United Nations, where all the dignitaries stay. And, you know, you've covered D.C., you've covered international events, but to be around those diplomats and everything else, it's just a different world. And it's difficult to communicate.
I've never covered a UN assembly. That's kind of on my list. I've never covered a general assembly there at the UN. I think that'd be fun. When I'm in New York, the few times a year that I go up there, I do like walking through that neighborhood there. Kind of the lower, what is that? That's kind of the lower east side. It's a nice neighborhood right on the river. And you're right. I mean, it's just so much international culture right there in one area.
Yeah, and again, literally, it's funny. 2 weeks ago, you couldn't get in because it was the General Assembly. But you have all the embassies. But as someone who has covered, though, maybe not the UN, but the diplomats themselves, until you're around them, they're on just a completely different level than the rest of us.
You know, it's, sometimes they are. They do. Sometimes the embassies here in D.C. sometimes have receptions for the media. And so, you know, the diplomats, the ambassadors will kind of come out and make some opening remarks. And then we get an opportunity to kind of meet more with the staff, the liaisons that work with the press or work with different, U.S. Agencies. And I always find it fascinating that so often, the life of a diplomat is so nomadic. We kind of think about, them coming here to the U.S., but man, most of them, start their careers all over the world, and they're raising children that speak 3, 4, 5 languages. It's a different type of lifestyle, to be sure. I have neighbors where I live who are retired from the State Department, and just, the way that their careers went and the way that their children were raised is so different than I think how most are. And it brings a different perspective, and it's probably not for everybody, but it is nice when you get the opportunity to kind of interact with folks that bring that perspective to the table.
Yeah, like I said, you're right, that lifestyle. I was trying to figure that out as I was just literally amongst them. Very different from the world that we live in. We've got the First Lady getting ready to hit the road for the Vice President.
Yeah, this is the first time that the First Lady has gone out kind of be a surrogate for somebody not her husband. She is out there now for the Vice President, her first time. This is old school, too. This is a 5-day, 5-state tour, right? This is starting out west, Arizona today, Nevada tomorrow, going to the Blue Wall over the weekend and into the early part of next week, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. And I think what you are seeing the Harris campaign now do is deploy these kind of top-tier surrogates, as we would call them, to the parts of the swing states that they can do the most good. So you look at the schedule here for the First Lady, she is in a lot of the suburbs of Phoenix. She is in the suburbs of Detroit and Philadelphia and Milwaukee, because those are the areas that Republicans have kind of struggled over the last couple of elections. And you've seen Democrats make inroads, especially with suburban women. there is such a large gender gap in this election in particular, and in large measure, it is a birth of the suburbs, where traditionally those have been more Republican-friendly, but maybe less so now as the Republican Party has moved closer to former President Trump. And so that's a big opportunity area, I think, for the Harris campaign that they're hoping can be capitalized with somebody like the First Lady. Yesterday, former President Obama did a big rally in Pittsburgh. But before that, he did some events that were smaller in scale that focused largely on black men. That is a constituency that the Harris campaign is a little nervous about, because polling suggests that the support from black men has slipped from where it was 4 years ago for President Biden. They need to get those numbers back up. And so this was kind of a direct appeal from Barack Obama going into these communities. And so I think in the closing weeks here, you are going to see both campaigns kind of deploy surrogates where they can do the most good. There have been some questions from Republicans I've spoken to about why the Trump campaign maybe isn't using somebody like Nikki Haley more effectively, somebody who can kind of go in and be almost like a permission structure for Republicans who maybe aren't in love with former President Trump, but she can talk about kind of the policies of Harris and kind of compare and contrast that. You've not seen that yet, but perhaps you see kind of those types of surrogates deployed on behalf of the Trump campaign here in the closing days, because this campaign is going to come down to turnout and not the base. I think both bases are sufficiently mollified. I think the question is, you have maybe not undecided voters, but what I would describe as maybe uncommitted voters. They are certainly leaning one way or another, but they haven't kind of locked in that support. These types of surrogates sometimes can be helpful in doing that for the campaigns. And so I'll be interested to see now in the closing weeks how both campaigns kind of use these surrogates to go into very targeted communities to see if they can shore up that support in these swing states.
Yeah, and I don't know if we've seen this ever, Jared, here on KIDO Talk Radio and Fox News Radio. We have everybody. We have Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, everybody, it seems, except Joe Biden out on the trail. And listen, I think you're going to see Biden out there. He was out there earlier in the week. Certainly his priorities have been on the hurricane here in Washington. And so he has not been out on the trail so much this week. He did an event for Bob Casey earlier in the week in Philadelphia, or Pittsburgh, somewhere in Pennsylvania. And so we'll see, I think, was it Scranton? I don't remember, but we'll see, I think, him again be deployed in the places that matter the most. And you are seeing him do Pennsylvania a lot. He obviously a native son of Pennsylvania. He remained pretty strong in Pennsylvania, even as he seemed to be collapsing everywhere else against former President Trump. And so, again, when you look at kind of the resources that you have in front of you, I think that's how you sort of figure out where to put people. And if you're the campaign, you know that President Biden can still help probably in kind of those big union kind of blocks in the upper Midwest. And so I would expect over the next 3 weeks, you see the president spend a lot of time in those 3 blue wall states. Jared, anything else you'd like to share with us today? We always appreciate the content, sir.
Yeah, no, I think, this weekend I'm interested to kind of see what the message is from these campaigns now, right? We are getting into the closing days here. And remember, this week, early voting kicked off in Arizona. So 41 states, I think, are now voting in some form or fashion, whether it's in person, early voting or mail-in absentee voting. This election's underway, and we talk a lot about Election Day, but that's kind of the last day of what is now an election season, and that also plays into how these campaigns kind of hone their message and who they are trying to reach out to here in the closing weeks.
Jared, thank you, sir.
Sure thing.
Jared Halpern joining us, Fox News Radio. When you hear Fox News Radio, you're listening to KIDO Talk Radio. And speaking of which, when you're hearing KIDO Talk Radio, you're listening to our friend David DeHaas, who joins us now.
Paid for by Living Waters Wellness Center.
And here he is now with a preview of his Sunday show at 9. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Kevin. Hey, have you ever heard of leaky gut?
I have. Tea Party Bob talks about it all the time.
Yeah, well, leaky gut is when you have tiny little holes in your gut and food particles drop in the blood system and your immune system starts attacking your body. That creates inflammation and dis-ease in the body. It's like Kamala's leaky border. You have illegals leaking through the border, causing havoc, stealing resources from the citizens and creating chaos, creating inflation, putting pressure on services like healthcare, housing, and so forth. When you have leaky gut, this chaos can be symptoms like food allergies, lupus, fibromyalgia, brain fog, muscle and joint pain, to name a few. The good news is, Kevin, you can heal leaky gut. Just like you can close the border. Every 5 days, you get brand new cells in your gut lining. When you use colon hydrotherapy to clean out the toxins or the illegals, your body will repair. If you have inflammation, you have to start with healing the gut first using colon hydrotherapy.
And that's where you come in.
That's where we come in, and healing the gut, we heal the body. That's your second brain. We got to start there. So on Sunday morning, we're going to teach you more about how to heal the body. 9 a.m. on Sunday morning. And in the meantime, if you just can't wait to learn about how to heal your leaky gut or your inflammation, go to livingwaterscleanse.com, or you can call the office for 208-378-9911.
Finally, what do you say to people that are skeptics of fixing the leaky gut and they say, well, I'll just take some Pepto or my doctor will give me something? What do you say to the skeptics, sir? Because you're a very optimistic young man.
Well, usually I will ask them, how's that been working for you? And they've been doing the same thing for years, on the same meds for years. And so, if you got to make a change, you got to do something different. So I encourage them to come and try some, to come down and try 3 to 5 colonics. Just try it out. Stick your toes in the water. And what our clients find is, we want more of this, so I'm getting better. Just like the guy last week got rid of the floaters in his eyes, and what's the other thing? He cut his PSA in half. Incredible. And he's not sleeping with the CPAP machine anymore. He says, David, I'm not snoring. I'm not using my CPAP. That's amazing.
It is amazing. The amazing David DeHaas, Sunday at 9. We can't wait to listen to what you're doing. And, of course, your great information. We always appreciate you, sir.
I appreciate you, Kevin. Have a blessed week.
You too.
Paid for by Living Waters Wellness Center.
Let's go to the Jimmy Olsen. And if you know that reference, you're a smart person of the KIDO Talk Radio Kevin Miller Show. It is Lee Joe. Good morning, Lee Joe.
Good morning. I don't know the Jimmy Olsen reference.
Jimmy Olsen, the reporter from Superman?
Oh, okay, sure. I just don't. I'm not good with names. I know events. I know things like that. But here's your report, at least this part of this report. Over the last month, there has been a crime spree in my company and several other companies of stolen GPS equipment from job sites. And it's 4 different companies right now that have been hit, and the total value of what's departed is around $261,000. It's a high-tech piece of equipment thing that goes on these to help things go more efficiently on job sites. And I have filled out my police reports for the various jurisdictions in which these things have happened. And I've encouraged them to discuss with each other whatever they may find. And, of course, there's been no feedback, no reply, no concerted effort. And if you had a bank robber pull up and take $250,000 out of a bank, I think they'd be interested in that. Or if you had $250,000 worth of vehicles stolen in a few days, I think they'd take interest in that. But I get crickets, and I have a suspicion that, it's going to be really hard to do the legwork and try and find out stuff. We've increased security in our operation, and I'm hoping the other companies have too, but it's pretty amazing the lackluster reaction you get to $250,000 of equipment disappearing in this in our fine village. And we got to link that crime rate to the increase of Californians, and maybe even to the increase of California cops who we've hired. Where theft happens all the time, and there's no chance for them to be able to keep up with it because they're under-resourced or what have you. And going back to Kent Goldthorpe's call, which sounded like a call, an advertisement for everybody to read 1984 by George Orwell. And if we have a problem with law enforcement of stoplights, maybe we should hire more traffic cops to go and take care of that issue in person. We shouldn't just give up our right to travel. We shouldn't just give up our freedom of movement, because it's the same thing. We're giving up our liberty for security. And if we have a problem with it, then we need more law enforcement, and specifically actual people on the ground. Taking the robots, meaning the cameras, and just making it a thing is not. And what does the police officers union think of this whole deal? That's automation of their job. They could hire another employee.
The weirdest thing about it is, you had one of the Boise City Council members go, well, there have been a lot of confrontations between police and the public, and this will keep them safe. And I'm going, okay, Lee Joe, I'm going to bite. That's what that guy said. That's the dumbest statement ever. Police people, if the police people are not going to be handling the crime and the traffic, then who will? That's their job. And if they're not going to do it, I mean, I'm thinking, really, dude, you're going to basically, how red light cameras work is there's no presumption of innocence. You get the ticket. And whether the police officer's not going to be there. He didn't see what happens. It's the robot versus you.
Yeah, there's no witness. But you can't call the witness into court. Oh, I saw something on a videotape. Oh, okay, that makes you a first-person witness. Sure, that's never worked in court, really. You still have to be able to face the accuser, and that's not what you're going to be facing. You're going to be facing the robot. And this confrontation with police, maybe we need to work on some police training so those confrontations happen less. Theoretically, that'd be nice. Maybe we have some training issues where. Well, let me.
Right, but Lee Joe, one more quick thing, because we know that Lee Joe has a very unique view of law enforcement. But you have this situation, and you were the one that brought it up, the story of the police officer who was in Meridian with the two young guys, the video that went viral, moved to Boise. Now that trial is coming up. And we're going to see what plays out here with the kid that was arrested. And that'll be, Tuesday? Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the kid. And will there be any investigation ramifications on the officer? No. Has he already been investigated and everything justified? Most likely. Who was he investigated by? Other police officers. It's an endless circle. The beatings will continue until morale improves. And so we have this, now we have confrontation with police officers over traffic tickets, which should be basically non-confrontational. It shouldn't be a big deal if a police officer is doing his job and a citizen understands his role. It shouldn't be a big deal, but it's turning into one. And I think it goes back to training. And we do have a crime spree in this valley right now, not just with the stuff, 5 months ago, a friend of mine had his shop broken into. Some kids went in and vandalized everything inside it. He remodeled houses and, he's got $5,000 worth of damage. Found out who the kids were, did all the investigating, got them into the juvenile court system and what have you, and asked the police to have them come over and clean up their mess as a reparation. Couldn't even get the location of where the children where, couldn't even get the parents' information. There's a disconnect here between the role of law enforcement and justice. We got to get this back together. We're having a problem, and it's going to get worse as this valley gets bigger. And
I've got something for you. I'm going to get you out of here on this one. Monday at 8, we will have the new chief of the Boise Police Department in studio. If you'd like to give him a call,
I'll take it. Can we get Matt Clifford in too, and Doug Trebell in too?
Hey, Lee Joe, take the invitation for what it is.
That's great, but there's an election going on, and
Lee Joe, if you get one on, you have to get them all on.
I think they'd both go. Well, no, Matt Clifford's declined debate, so maybe you can.
I'm not talking about a debate. I think there's 3 candidates. Thank you, my great friend Lee Joe. And you can't ask for direction and get mad when Lee Joe gives it to you. So we love Lee Joe, and I do. What's that? You love Lee Joe as much as losing the Marconi? Thank you very much, Sweet William. But I do love Lee Joe because that Lee Joe exemplifies what this program is about, and it's discussion. So we are going to have the new chief of the Boise Police Department joining us Monday at 8 in studio. Looking forward to that and finding out what this gentleman's all about. By the way, let's go to the Yap Yap Club, brought to you by our friends at Team Mazda. Good morning, Kevin. Do you guys happen to have a bumper sticker I could get on my truck? You guys and 89.5 are the only stations I want to promote on my truck. I have one for them, but I really need one for you guys. Yes, I wish we had bumper stickers. Shanty Rose, I wish that we did. But I will once again ask the powers that be and see what happens. Thank you for the kind thought. Question for Kent. Is it appropriate for an elected or state official to insult his constituents on social media? I've seen his behavior on Nextdoor and Facebook. Not a good look, Kent. DJ in Meridian. Okay, regarding red light cameras, Idaho has permissive yellow laws, so as long as the light is yellow when you enter an intersection, it is legal to be in the intersection and running against the red light. That and people taking free right-hand turns after a legal stop will be huge problems for these cameras. Yeah, but in Boise. If anyone wants to send money towards the hurricane relief effort, Samaritan's Purse has been on the ground to aid people, according to Sean Hannity. FEMA and the Red Cross are still slow to respond. Mike in Caldwell. Well, the run on toilet paper at the Walmarts in Caldwell is ongoing. As of Thursday afternoon, 3 small packages were all that remained on the shelf. If you don't reach a deal with the dock workers, of course they did, but that's kind of strange. Anyway, I guess that was a long one. I think Tea Party Bob was in town, and he actually was telling me that the Costco's again out of toilet paper. Well, I don't know if it's just Costco, but we appreciate the toilet paper updates. Like we said, this section of the program brought to you by our friends at Team Mazda. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. The city of Boise paying a lot of money for legal expenses. Now a big settlement with an officer allegedly injured by the former chief. Coming up, we'll have the new chief joining us on Monday at 8. And shout out to all the people in law enforcement. And there's a lot of challenging issues. Next week's going to be a big week for local law enforcement, where you have the trial of the Meridian officer with the kids that didn't cooperate with the motorcycle. I'll explain about that. And it is a challenging world. Let's not forget the Boise's red light camera situation. A lot going on. And Brandi Swindell from Stanton will join us coming up in the 8 o'clock hour as well. A lot going on today. And as I said, thankful to be back with you. Thankful to be with you in Idaho. And one of the things that in Idaho that we don't have is pretentious people. And that's probably another takeaway that I had from New York. Just a lot of pretentious people that make the people in Washington, D.C. seem very, very humble. One thing that we all love is cash. Did you know that it's Cash for Cars Month, and it's continuing at T-Moz in the pre-owned superstore in Caldwell? Turn your car into cash today. If you've got a car that you're willing to sell, take it to T-Moz and get a free cash quote. And if you're looking to trade your old car, only Team offers the following 2 trade guarantees. 130% of book value, or $2,000 minimum if it's push, pull, drag, or clunker. Whether you want to sell for cash or trade for new or wherever, get a free no-obligation quote from Team before you agree to any other. And if you haven't heard yet, the Fed recently lowered interest rates that has triggered all new lower rates at Team. That's right, to 3.9 for 60 months on a Mazda 3, CX-5, and CX-90, including hybrids. Choose a Mazda CX-50 and it's 2.9 financing for only 60 months. That means Team Mazda has 115 new Mazdas on the lot. You can finance at 3.9 or less for 60 months. And by the way, Aaron and Joel really work hard to make sure that you get that low interest rate, that you get a car you can afford and afford the fuel for, so you're good to go. Again, 3.9 or less for 60 months at Team. That's a lot of good financing. Team Mazda in the pre-owned superstore on the Boulevard and online at goteammazda.com. Cash for Cars continues. Please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. Let's get you to work safely and on time. KIDO, who let us know that there's a Johnny Cash tribute band performing tonight in Caldwell. Thank you, David Ferdinand, for that. Let's see, at the Kiwanis Club. C of I. Wait a minute. Johnny Cash tribute for Caldwell, Kiwanis. That's right, at the College of Idaho. Thank you, David Ferdinand, for that. We appreciate it. We'll give you more information. Anytime we can promote Johnny, God rest his soul, we love Johnny Cash, and we love you. Let's go back to the phones here on KIDO Talk Radio. And Chandler joins us now, I believe. Chandler, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. I'm glad that you're back. I hope that you share some stories with us about migrant encounters and homeless people, because I know you got a few. I wanted to carry on with what Lijo was talking about. And with red light cameras, this reminds me of my very first experience as a youth with city government. Back then, this is the 5th grade, skateboarding was still legal. However, I guess there was a problem with a few individuals who were creating a ruckus or, I don't know, skating or, they were being a nuisance. And so the mayor, we got to do a law. We got to ban skateboarding in the town, downtown business area. So I went, and a few of us went. And I asked the mayor point blank, I'm like, why can't you just find the individuals that are causing the problem and use existing laws like public nuisance laws, loitering laws that we already have to go after them rather than collectively punishing us? To collectively punish us as a group for actions of a few people, I mean, that's not great. And where's this going to stop? And the mayor's words to me were, don't worry, boys, it's only this rule for only downtown during business hours. Well, what happened? Well, then all of a sudden the police were enforcing it after hours. So I don't know what a youth with a skateboard, doing tricks on a curb, it's more damaging to the kid than the curb. But after hours, they were enforcing that. In an abandoned parking lot with a few kids with skateboards, not doing drugs, just skateboarding, they're getting targeted and harassed. And then my friend who lived outside the business district in his area, he was in city limits, the police felt that it was a green light to go after him. So they'd come by and tell us we couldn't be in the street, we couldn't be on the sidewalk, it's illegal, the mayor passed the law. That's what's going to happen. I mean, if you can trust any people in government to do a program that isn't going to come after you and do this, you're a fool. And the problem, I think, and there's better ways to address this. So some city in Brazil had an issue with speeding and trafficking, people running red lights and going through the crosswalks and hitting pedestrians. So they hired mimes. And so the mimes would be in areas that were particularly of trouble, and they do their mime shtick with the stop signs and, overreact, and they're not yelling, they're mimes, they're silent, right? So it's just reacting. People would see it. There was humiliation, there was shame. It really discouraged behavior, and it solved it. So, I mean, instead of spending all this out-of-state money on, these cameras for God knows what and the cost to keep them up and going, make the judicial system non-for-profit. I already told the story before how this is going to get outsourced, and you're going to have third parties going after money, ticketing people, collecting it. I mean, how is that any different than how the government's outsourced censorship to Facebook and all that? Hire a bunch of mimes, hire a bunch of actors. You could put a guy in a bunny costume, for holidays. We'd hire people locally. We could address the issue by actually paying our own people, keeping the money in the community in a fun, creative way. More importantly, you could broadcast it on TV. KTV could do a segment of, here are the mimes at the street corner that we're monitoring. It's a problem, people. It's a problem, people. Oh, look, and there's a person, their car's on camera. You see who they are. They get shamed. That's how you can solve the problem without losing your rights.
I think Channel 7 has other priorities with their Spanish language newscast and whatever else they're doing. And it's, they want to, they're very proud to have a Spanish language newscast. And
right.
It's weird when you take a look at that, and I have to be very careful because people can have accusations because you're not really allowed to speak truth to power anymore. But, the whole fallacy of it is they're promoting it and it's great, but it's still a very small segment of the population, and that's great that they're doing it. I hope that they would use that energy they're doing to promote that Spanish language broadcast to serving the community, actually covering some news.
Hey, maybe this opportunity for one of the other networks, ABC6 or one of the others. But it's not a crazy idea. When I lived in Los Angeles, when they had areas that were problematic, they put a guy in a bunny costume around Halloween or Easter and Halloween. And, they would show people going across the intersection, and they also had a motorcycle cop there. So if, hey, didn't I didn't see. Oh, you didn't see the guy in the bunny suit? Here's your ticket. I mean, other municipalities have done this. So it's not ridiculous. I mean, we got a struggling arts community here. It'd be good for them, not some big out-of-state company.
We all know that, look, you have a mayor who distrusted, and I'll say this because, again, I just got back from all the radio slappies, so I'll do my best to insulate myself from my own opinion here. But in my opinion, you have a mayor that does not trust the legal system in our state based on the fact she hired Christina Blasey Ford's attorney to investigate the Boise Police Department, which was a giant nothing burger. So The idea that she doesn't like the city or she wants the city to be nothing more than charging stations, playgrounds, and red light cameras is a real challenge. And the idea of the carbon neutral stuff that she's implementing and everything else, and look, nobody's going to stand up to her in Boise. Maybe nobody cares about Boise, but that's just the way it is. You have spoken too much logic for the Boise politicians, and that's the truth. You won't hear that anywhere else, but you'll hear it with me as long as I'm with you, brother.
Well, what I'd say is, Ken Gopher calls in. Hey, Ken, you heard the mime idea. There's a city in Brazil that did it. You could probably even reach out to them and get documentation to show it's a real thing that they did, and it was highly effective. Like, hey, why not propose that? I think that would be really great, creative, and interesting.
Being a mime is tough. Chandler, thank you for the call. It is. Mrs. Miller her uncle is like a world famous mime. He's been on all the shows. But thank you for the call. Phone number's here 580-5436 580-KIDO, and that's really. And again, we're not me. I'm a fan of English. I love English. We have a right to do everything we want. We have a responsibility, and you have many people that are, in their own zealot way, and probably not the word zealotry, passionate way to inform the community. You're going to do this. The Statesman covered the story. They've been running endless promos on Channel 7 about their Spanish language broadcasts, and to people in Seattle, they're going to say, this is great, see the outreach. But if you're not part of the club, then all you're doing is encouraging people not to assimilate to Idaho and America. It's akin to, and again, in my own personal opinion, because nobody wants to be called a racist. I've said this for 30 years. It's one of the worst things you can never disprove the charge of racism, no matter what your civil rights history is. But at 580-5436 580-KIDO, I think it's unnecessary. All you do, and this goes to the state of Idaho with their, driver's licenses in 26 languages. It goes to press 1 for English, 2 for Spanish. It does nothing, but it doesn't encourage people to assimilate. Because just like at work, just in life, if you make somebody comfortable, then there's no incentive to become an American. There's no incentive to learn English. And it's like with the people that are here illegally. If you give Senator Guthrie, if you give them the legal right to drive, they're here illegally, they don't have to speak the language, then why should they do it? And like I said, it's a philosophical difference. You will not hear anyone in this state having enough guts to take on Channel 7 to say that I disagree with their policy of having this. I find it highly insulting. And I'm sure in the newsroom, which they monitor this program, I see you now listening, they'll call me a xenophobe and everything else, but there are people that believe that it's true. And I've been holding off on this for a while. I mean, the endless promos on this. Okay, I get it, man, but why not use those resources to serve the community? And they're going to service that smaller community as compared to the larger force. But I guess that's where they're going. For us, we're going to serve the people that want to be part of America. And as I said before, when you do not give people incentives, when it's big business, I had somebody from the business community say to me, hey, this is a great thing. It's going to blow up. It's going to help us in the community. I go, what? The community that doesn't speak English? Well, that's xenophobic. It's really xenophobic for me to say that you should speak English in Idaho. Well, then really, what's the point of having this show? Really, what's the point? What's the point of having a show that if you can't say you really should speak English? We're not being derogatory because we don't do that anymore in America. We're not being controversial. It's like with we don't want the police to enforce the laws. Then why have a police force? If you don't stand up for things that you believe in, you stand for nothing, and we stand with you. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number's here, 580-5436. 580-KIDO. I wouldn't call you a xenophobe. I'd call you a sexist, racist. By the way, why doesn't your wife wear dresses? A. Bundy in America. Look, Mr. Bundy, I'll talk about your wife. Don't talk about mine. Eric in Payette. Hey, Kevin, the red light cameras. Listening to Kent this morning. Did you hear all the mishmash that he was saying would be involved with this idiotic camera idea? All the added garbage these cameras bring is easily avoided by simply hiring police to monitor the intersections just like they used to. I so agree with that. Give jobs to the people, not technology. Don't complicate my life and kill Satan's tool, the smartphone. Geez Louise, did the Biden administration make us stupid? Good luck tonight, KIDO. Appreciate all you do. You've already winners in my book. Thank you, Denver. And if you're just tuning in, we didn't win, but we win every day by talking to our friend David Ferdinand, who joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio with a very important announcement of some good times in Caldwell tonight. Good morning, David.
Yeah. Good morning, Kevin. And you had so much great information on this morning. And you are right on with your comments about the languages. Having spent a little time in local government, I can tell you people do not realize the expense that we've gone through. We actually, in the courts, like you said, driver's licenses, all kinds of things. I could do an hour with you. I'll come in sometime. Crazy.
We would love to have that, and we would love to bring that topic up. It's unfortunate that that seems to be the added expense. Yeah. Well, the cost is people don't realize. Anyway, tonight, no, it's Johnny Cash night, and they're adding Hank Williams Sr. A 30-minute portion for the Johnny Cash tribute tonight at Jewett Auditorium over at C of I for the kids projects that this helps build some funds for in the Caldwell Kiwanis. So I wanted to make sure that you had the information. I know everybody loves James Garner and his tribute to Johnny Cash. He was here last year, and he's back for another evening of great fun and great music. So I appreciate your program this morning, Kevin. Thanks for the topic, and it needs to be said. Well, I appreciate that, David Ferdinand. I got to hit you with this one. Your favorite Johnny Cash song.
Oh, Johnny Cash. Well, Chris Christopherson just passed away, and one of the songs that Chris Christopherson wrote that Johnny Cash took to the first number one hit was Sunday Morning Coming Down. Gotta love it.
See, for me, I gotta go The Man in Black, A Boy Named Sue,
yeah.
And of course Folsom.
Yeah, that Hey Boy Named Sue. Got it one time live at the prison. You know, there was never a recording of that song that was done in the studio. Just a live. That was it, man.
Oh, I love that. I caught him one night in Gatlinburg, and I'm like, whoa.
Oh, man. Well, that everybody would love to go back in time and see the real Johnny Cash, but boy, this guy does such an incredible job. And it's the young Johnny Cash that was really making an impact, with it was before the Highwaymen, but it was a good time in his history.
David Ferdinand, so that when is that tonight if people want to check out James Garner, not to be confused with the Rockford Files?
All right, that's true. 7 o'clock, the pre-show with Joey Palmer, the Hank Williams Sr. He's doing Hank Williams for about 30 minutes, and then James Garner's tribute starts at 7:30, Jewett Auditorium. You can get tickets at the door, but if you go, just Google it. Google it on on Facebook or any of those, and get your tickets in advance. And if you put the word Kiwanis in there, you get a discount. So,
well, you heard it first from David Ferdinand. We appreciate that, brother.
All right, man. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Our great friend Dave Burnett is standing by. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. From the G&G Insulation Studio, it's been a fairly quiet Friday morning. No problems on the freeway inbound on the connector. Finishing cleanup of an accident at Lone Star and Midland. If you have an accident, Mike Miniger's Auto Body will restore your vehicle to pre-accident condition, and they'll guarantee their work. Call Mike Miniger's Auto Body. Visit BoiseAutoBody.com. That's your traffic now. I'm Dave Burnett on KIDO Talk Radio.
Thank you very much, Dave Burnett. Remember, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, it's Cash for Cars month, and it's continuing now at T-Mazda in the pre-owned superstore. Turn your car into cash today. If you've got a car you're looking to trade, only Team offers you the following 2 trade guarantees. 130% of book value or a $2,000 minimum trade if it's push, pull, drag, or clunker. Whether you want to sell for cash or trade for new, get a new free, no obligation quote from Team before you agree to any other offer. And if you haven't heard yet, the Fed's recently lowered interest rates, and that all triggered great new rates, and there's nobody better at fighting for the rates than Aaron and Joel at Team. How about this? 3.9 for 60 months on Mazda 3, CX-5, and CX-90s, including hybrids. Choose a Mazda CX-50, and it's 2.9% financing for 60 months. That means Team Mazda has 115 new Mazdas on the lot, and you can finance at 3.9 or less for 60 months. That's right, 3.9 or less for 60 months. Low interest rates, cash for cars at Team Mazda, the pre-owned superstore on the Boulevard or online at goteammazda.com. Please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. And like I said, Aaron and Joel do such an outstanding job when it comes to getting you that lower interest rate. You are a person, not a number, not an algorithm at Team Mazda. Coming up, Mark, the watchdog of Eagle, Brandi Swindell from Stanton, and you with me next, Kevin Miller. Ain't fighting, you ain't trying. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's go to our great friend Brandi Swindell joining us from Stanton. Brandi, great to have you with us.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. Thank you for having me.
You know, for people that aren't familiar with your group, it does such an important amount of work. A lot of people move into Idaho all the time. A lot of people, maybe they don't follow the pro-life movement. Please tell us about Stanton, please.
Yeah, I know. Haven't we seen our beautiful state grow over the years? It's a good reminder that we do have new people here and new listeners to your wonderful show. And so Stanton Healthcare is a life-affirming women's medical clinic that I founded in 2006 here in the Treasure Valley. And our approach and our outreach really is to reaching out to women facing unexpected pregnancies with life-affirming solutions, quality care, and tangible resources. So that means we reach out to teen moms, single moms, refugee women, any woman of any background and diverse situation who is just looking for support during her unexpected pregnancy. And, of course, we want to make sure every woman in the state of Idaho and beyond has an option besides just abortion, right? Women should know that they have a community of support. They're not alone. And I'm really proud of our clinics and the work that we do. We're staffed by licensed, credentialed medical professionals and volunteers. We don't charge for any of our services. Any woman can walk through our doors, and we have a baby boutique. We give maternity supplies, baby supplies, ultrasound exams, prenatal vitamins, STD testing and treatment, well woman exams, emotional, tangible support and resources through all 9 months of their pregnancy and after the baby is born. So that's what we're about, Kevin. That's what we do.
Well, Brandi, we appreciate that. And, I lived the life of Brandi very briefly this week. I was in New York staying at the United Nations, literally, and I was amazed at the different world of people, high-level diplomats, presidents, heads of state, ambassadors from other countries. And you have taken Stanton International, and I really didn't realize the importance of that and what it takes to go to another country, and life is life, but to really work and help mothers in other countries. What is that like, taking your organization that you founded right here in Idaho, International, and really the movement to save lives all over the world?
That's right, Kevin. I appreciate you mentioning that. So our flagship, our headquarters is based right here in Idaho in the Treasure Valley, and it's really the template for what we can do across the nation and internationally. So we have Stanton affiliate clinics throughout the nation. We have a public policy center in Washington, D.C. to advocate for the women and children we serve. And then we have international clinics. Our very first international clinic is in Ireland, Belfast, Ireland. And our good friend Bernadette runs that in Ireland and is doing a remarkable job. And I actually just had meetings in Washington, D.C. With an organization called Pro-Life Global, and we're making plans to see how we can reach out to more third world countries, because every woman around the world deserves access to life-affirming care, quality support and options, and tangible resources. No woman should ever be forced to make the decision to have an abortion because she doesn't think that she can do it alone or that she has the support behind her and the resources that she needs. So this is a really important global mission. And in fact, Kevin, you were sort of in my neck of the woods there a little bit at the UN. I have been to the UN several times and have voiced support for resolutions at the UN that would have a global impact to help women in countries around the world, ensuring that they have options besides abortion. And unfortunately, when we look at administrations like the Biden administration and what Kamala Harris believes and radical pro-abortion extremists, they want to export abortion to other countries from America. And we think that we should export hope and quality care and tangible resources to other countries. That's what women deserve.
More coming up with our great friend Brandi Swindell next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. One more time. Look, you've been to D.C., you've been other places, and, you know, it's not like we're trying to say everybody's a big baller here, but I'm trying to disclose this for the state of educational purposes, just based, again, my limited time there at the UN, at the little UN hotel. You've been to places into DC, but that whole UN thing, that's a whole entirely different culture. It's like a different, solar system universe. Again, as someone from Idaho with Idaho values, can you convey to us what that experience was like?
Oh, you're right. It is a whole different world with, a very diverse group of people in this tremendous building. You know, Kevin, you walk by the UN and you see all those international flags surrounding it. I mean, it's really quite majestic. And, you get access to get into that building, which you have to be sponsored in through different approved groups and entities there at the UN. And then you're basically, there to advocate and lobby for really important matters that are going to have a significant impact on an international level. And it's pretty, you kind of feel the weight and the importance of the building. You know, I go there and I think, wait, do I really belong here? You know, what's my little humble part in this? And then I'm reminded I'm here to be a voice for the women we serve. We're here to be a voice for not only the women in Idaho and in America, but that international voice for women who deserve access to quality, life-affirming health care. And it's pretty interesting because you'll be going toe-to-toe in some of these breakout meetings and sessions with very aggressive extremists that are, you know, radically pro-abortion, that are advocating, Kevin, for what they call the girl child to have abortion on demand, meaning 12 and 13-year-olds need access to birth control and abortion, and that's what's going to make their life better. And the truth is, when you look at the global stats on unexpected pregnancies, infant and maternal mortality rates, when you look at the serious things that women face in countries around the world, what they need is not abortion on demand and birth control. What they need is quality health care. They need clean and safe spaces to get prenatal care. They need proper health clinics to have safe labor and deliveries. They need pre- and postnatal education. That's the game changer. We've trialed that at our clinics here in Idaho. We've trialed it at centers and communities around the nation, and we've trialed it internationally. And that's the game changer. Abortion doesn't make the lives of women better. It doesn't fix all their problems. In fact, the studies and the anecdotal evidence and the statistical data, the evidence shows it makes life worse for women. What's going to improve their quality of life and surrounding their reproductive health and unexpected pregnancy is the quality care, the life-affirming solutions, the pre- and postnatal education, and hope with a capital H, right? That's what women deserve. And so that's the message we carry at the UN. And it's like you said, Kevin, it's a whole different world when you go to the UN, but it's an important place to be. And we need to be there to represent the women we serve and to be their voice on an international level.
Yeah, and certainly two words, pretentious and ego. My limited time there.
Yes, there is definitely an arrogance, an ego, and a lot of power players. That's for sure.
Yeah, and comparing it to D.C., D.C. seems full of egos, but very quaint compared to the UN. It's quite educational.
Yeah, agreed.
Brandi, you came on last week and you had some news, and now you have an update, and this is good news, right?
It is good news. I'm really happy to share with you, Kevin, and your listeners that we have a very positive update. You very graciously had me on your show last week, and it was pretty urgent and critical to let you know and make sure your listeners were aware that the Idaho Medical Association was going to be entertaining a very hate-filled, misguided resolution that was just filled with misinformation, that was attacking the work of crisis pregnancy centers, what they called crisis pregnancy centers. We call ourselves pregnancy resource centers and life-affirming medical clinics because we are credentialed and licensed medical facilities here in the state of Idaho. This resolution was being entertained at their conference in Sun Valley last weekend that was an attempt to disparage who we are, to accuse us of fraudulent activities, to accuse us of being imposters, and imposturing being healthcare clinics. And it actually had an action item step, which was to try and prevent pregnancy centers like ours from getting community support and the support of the Idaho legislature, and to have a mechanism that would prevent us from ever getting any state funding. Now, it's important to note that Stanton Healthcare is privately funded. We don't get any support from the state budget or from any federal funds. It's all just people like you and I, Kevin, that make monthly donations to support our work, which allows us not to charge our Stanton moms and our Stanton clients for any of the services that we provide. But this resolution was brought by two very radical abortion doctors. One we know for sure after a little bit of research has financial ties to Planned Parenthood and has been paid per diem by Planned Parenthood to perform abortions in years past. And so it was a very agenda-driven resolution. It was a very extreme, bigoted, hate-filled resolution full of misinformation. And we were pretty disappointed that the Idaho Medical Association would even entertain a resolution like this. Their position is that they hear all resolutions brought by all doctors, but I'm pretty certain that they probably have guiding principles where they won't listen to a racist resolution. They won't listen to or entertain a homophobic resolution as they shouldn't. And so the fact that they entertained this was troubling. But I have to tell you, Kevin, after a very robust debate, the reports we got back and the official position we got back from the Idaho Medical Association is that they completely changed all the language in the original resolution. They pulled all the rhetoric against pregnancy centers. They took out the mechanism of trying to block funding from pregnancy centers. So this was a huge victory, and I want to thank our community and our state for standing with the pregnancy centers of Idaho. People of goodwill, Kevin, your listeners showed up. They made phone calls. They emailed. We were able to put together a very hope-filled campaign in a very short amount of time, which created a lot of awareness. And I want to thank many of the doctors in the IMA. There's a lot of good healthcare professionals in the Idaho Medical Association who spoke in defense of our work and pregnancy centers like Stanton Healthcare. And many of them were life-affirming and shared how pregnancy centers in their communities are doing this wonderful work. And there were a lot of doctors in the IMA who had a very good and measured response to this, saying, we don't want to be a lobbying arm of Planned Parenthood in the abortion industry. We want to uphold good care. We want to uphold diversity in healthcare. And why on earth would we be supporting a resolution to prevent the work of nonprofit women's centers? And so we're very thankful the original resolution was changed so dramatically that it's an entirely different resolution that was passed, that it's something that Stanton itself can support. We could actually print off the resolution, the policy, and frame it in our waiting room, because it really just talks about having good medical standards, having proper licensing, and we agree with that and think that's a good thing. So this was a win for the women of Idaho and for the pregnancy centers of Idaho, Kevin.
Well, Brandi, and we talk about this on KIDO Talk Radio, the work that Stanton does, of course you talk about it everywhere else, but did you ever think that when you started this organization, you've worked with, pro-life people are the most pro-family, wholesome people you're ever going to come across. Did you ever think that people like, and I can't say this enough, Elizabeth Warren and others would target you and target crisis pregnancy centers as being bad?
Kevin, it's pretty shocking and jarring to think that there would be a unwarranted and coordinated attack from a national level, filtered all the way down to radical extremists, pro-abortion extremists within the IMA, that would try and do a coordinated attack to prevent the work of life-affirming medical centers like Stanton Healthcare, who have provided, I think the last data from last year was pregnancy centers nationwide have provided over $400 million in pregnancy services and maternity supplies and ultrasounds, and the list goes on to women at no charge throughout the nation. I mean, it's just outstanding. The exceptional amount of care that we provide to women facing unexpected pregnancies. And so for Elizabeth Warren, AOC, Planned Parenthood doctors within the IMA to try and prevent the work that we do is so troubling. And Kevin, I said this last week, it's not about me. It's not even about our Stanton clinics or pregnancy centers. It's about the women we serve. This is an affront and attack on the women who were seeking support and quality health care and services at a critical time in their life, when they're facing an unexpected pregnancy, when they're embracing motherhood, many of them for the first time, when they're wanting that support to learn how to navigate a pregnancy, and when they're starting to fall in love with that baby and they're wanting to be the best mom they can be. They don't go to Planned Parenthood for ultrasounds at no charge. They don't go to Planned Parenthood for diapers and wipes and maternity clothes and prenatal vitamins. They don't go to Planned Parenthood for parenting classes and budgeting classes and pregnancy coaching classes. They don't go to Planned Parenthood for labor and delivery classes and childbirth education classes. No, they go to Stanton, and they go to pregnancy centers throughout the state of Idaho and the nation to get that support. So for the IMA doctors who were very radically pro-abortion to present, these two doctors to present this at the conference, it was just hate-filled, it was bigoted, it was agenda-driven, and it was wrong. And I do want to thank the Idaho Medical Association for doing the right thing and removing that disparaging verbiage and the component that was attacking pregnancy centers and trying to prevent us from ever getting funding or support from the Idaho legislature and from the good people of Idaho. So thankfully, the Idaho Medical Association did end up doing the right thing. It was not the leadership of the IMA that brought the resolution. It was two abortionists. But still, the very fact that it was heard and it was entertained was troubling. And we had to speak out because it could have had devastating effects on the women we serve and on pregnancy centers throughout the state of Idaho.
Brandi Swindell, we always appreciate. Go ahead, Brandi.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Kevin. I do want to say that we invited our Director of Clinical Services, Samantha Doty, who is a licensed and credentialed physician assistant. She spoke at the Idaho Medical Association, did a phenomenal job. A lot of doctors gave us wonderful feedback, how great our Director of Clinical Services did, speaking at the Idaho Medical Association on behalf of our centers, our staff, and the women we serve. And again, we had an obligation to protect our clients, our Stanton moms, our medical professionals, and our volunteers from this unwarranted attack and this resolution. Sam did a great job, and she invited every member of the Idaho Medical Association, every doctor and healthcare professional, and the leadership to come and get a tour of Stanton Healthcare and to come see what we do and to meet our moms. And I extend that, Kevin, you've been to our clinic, you've seen it, and out there in Meridian, and your listeners, people are invited, the community is invited to come and see what we do, who we are, and what we're about.
Brandi, if they want to do that, your website, please.
Absolutely. So StantonHealthcare.org, StantonHealthcare.org, and we have a Stanton Healthcare Clinic in Meridian off of Franklin and Eagle Road. We have a Stanton Wellness Center where we do a lot of our classes for our moms, and we have our baby boutique there. That's in Boise off of State Street. And then we have our mobile clinic. It's a 36-foot Class A RV that we've converted into a life-affirming medical clinic, and we take that out to Ontario. We take it to rural communities, underserved communities. We take it to refugee communities. And so we would just love for people to reach out, come and see what we're about, learn how to volunteer, make donations on our website, StantonHealthcare.org.
Brandi Swindell, we'll do it again, and we need to get back to your place, so we will make that happen. Thank you.
Absolutely. We would love that, Kevin. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Appreciate you, ma'am. Let's get you to news brought to you by our friends at Beacon Plumbing. Stop freaking, call Beacon today. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Kyle, Ragged Old Flag, and others. We'll see if we can get more of those. Johnny Cash tribute. James Garner appearing in Caldwell tonight. Let's see. Great Johnny Cash song, One Piece at a Time. Yes, DJ in Meridian. Let's go to the phones. We apologize for the wait. Mark, the watchdog of Eagle, Idaho on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. I hope you're feeling better today, and welcome back from that demon rat hellhole called New York City.
Good to be back.
All right. Lee Joe's one has been poo-pooing this. Yesterday and the day before, there were some articles that appeared that you won't see on your normal deep state government-controlled alphabet networks. They won't talk about this. And that is the feud between Marjorie Taylor Greene, the representative of Georgia, and Biden about weather modification. Now, Lee Joe likes to point out the fact that, those contrails that he likes to call them, usually occur when they're cold and damp days out and it's cooler weather and you don't see them, during the summer. Apparently, he hasn't taken me up on my pictures I have of the summertime going back several years that show them crisscrossing the sky in the middle of summer. But anyway, 2 days ago when you were back there in New York, they decided they wanted to spray the heck out of our skies here in this region of the country. And it left nothing but a whole day and a half of gray, silvery, murky skies. I mean, today it's clear. We have had pretty much, Lee Joe, if you're listening, the same type of weather conditions patterns in the upper atmosphere as we have the lower, because I can look on NOAA and find this out. And I don't know. I guess they're not flying any jets today, Lee Joe, because there's not one in the sky today. But this was interesting because I've mentioned back about in 1995, I believe it was the 109th Congress, about how K. Bailey Hutchinson of Texas did a weather modification act. But there's one that was brought up by Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I found this funny the day just before it was mentioned, and it was the article in the Gateway Pundit, about the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration Library cataloging a list of over 1,026 entries of weather modification. And it's quite extensive. And the article I sent you yesterday, I emailed it to you, Kevin, about this, about the government doing weather control and modification. Yeah, it's real. She even says it's real. You have others in our government saying it's real, but Biden scoffs at her, saying that it's the federal government is literally controlling weather is beyond ridiculous. This is according to Biden. But mind you, folks, earlier this year, that it was also showing up on conservative websites that the Biden administration had already mentioned about doing weather modification to do climate control because of the global warming bit. So what a contradictory bunch of, BS out there. It's just interesting about how our government lies. And this is why I say this about the upcoming election and the lies we hear about Harris, being ahead in a lot of these states. I mean, it's getting contradictory what we're hearing from one to the other. But this one, folks, and I hope I sent this to you, Kevin, this one blows your mind. And it really actually shouldn't, but here it is, Gateway Pundit. The emasculization of the American male. Testosterone-crushing chemical herbicide banned in Europe gets sprayed freely on U.S. crops and ends up in our food supply. And the article, it's very interesting because the timeline goes into the timeline of when our government has been spraying the atmosphere trying to play God with the weather. We've heard about the historic drop in male testosterone levels over the past 50, 60 years, but rarely does anyone delve into the causes of this disturbing trend. And I guess this was on a recent guest on Joe Rogan's podcast, blew the whistle on chemical herbicides that are widely used in large swaths of American croplands has wrought catastrophic effects on the reproductive hormones and organs of the American male. And you look at this, Kevin, in this article, and I'm just giving you the highlights there. The timeline, again, coincides when our government decided they wanted to spray the skies up in the past 50, 60 years. But not only that, notice the rise in males trying to be like females. We've heard about the forever chemicals. In fact, that was on KIDO on your talk show, Kevin, about stuff going in our water supply, even here in Idaho. And, those forever chemicals you can't get rid of. So now you tie this in with stuff being sprayed at our crops they won't even use in Europe on their croplands. And you combine this all together, and it's like the United States and the American population has been used as one giant guinea pig, for the pharmaceutical, military-industrial complex, the globalists out there, because a lot of this stuff isn't being used in other countries, but they'll use it on us. And again, you start looking at the feminizing of the American male, and now we can see where some of this has come from. You can say, well, maybe it's the vaccines, things like that you get for smallpox, measles, whatever, as a baby and or a young child as you grow up. You get these, but no, there's really other reasons. It's what they're spraying in the skies and what they're spraying on our food supply. So it was just a thought for the day. That story is on the Gateway Pundit, folks, for anybody who wants to see that. And pretty much that was it. I'm glad you're back safe and sound, Kevin, and God bless you.
God bless you. We appreciate you. Thank you, Mark. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. 580-KIDO. We've got a lot going on today. Obviously, a couple of situations, most notably that we were talking about earlier, the red light cameras. ACHD approved that. And really, if you're the city of Boise, there really is no opposition. You have, the majority, 5 out of 6, if it's 6, 8 out of 9, however many city council people there are, they're Democrats. It's a nonpartisan race, but they're Democrats. So, you can make the argument for red light cameras by simply saying, aren't you tired of getting, having the fear when you go to a 4-way stop and you do have people that are very self-absorbed. And let's face it, we could say that about all of us, that we're all very self-absorbed sometimes. And I don't know if it's age, I don't know if it's compassion, but some people, you get it after a little while. You stop playing the hip hop. You'll look at things from other perspectives besides your own, and you say to yourself, "We can do better." But if you're the city of Boise, you want to say you're doing something. I mean, we talk about the big sellout to developers, where they've totally redone the code. So now you can have 2, 3, 4-story homes, and you could have a business, but not a gun business. And until the problem of Boise is solved, and I'm talking ideologically, I can't even say it, then it's going to be that way. And no matter what your ideology is, it's going to be there. That's funny. I could say one version of the word, but not the other. So, what do? Now you have Ryan Davidson. You had Kent Goldthorpe. You had Commissioner Davidson responding to this. Kent Goldthorpe giving us his review on it. There are safety arguments to this. You're not going to get people running red lights after they get that $150 ticket. That's for sure. It could say this is a smaller version of the Patriot Act. More on that in a minute. We want to thank our friends that support us, and you might have seen these commercials all the time. You've got Rob with the dog, with Charlie, and we love Charlie, and we love the dogs, and great work they do at Treasure Valley Subaru. And by the way, new cars under $20,000 are gone, but if you need one, you'd find one. It's probably, let's face it, below average, gutless, and no fun to drive. So if your budget is under $20,000, your best bet for a good quality used car is to go to a dealership you can trust, and that dealership is Treasure Valley Subaru and the Idaho Center Pre-Owned Superstore, because when you buy from Rob and the crew, dude, everybody there is friendly. And if you're a female, I'm sorry for calling you dude, but everybody's transitioning anyway, so what the heck. That's a joke. They're going to take care of you, and they always have a good selection of pre-owned cars under $20,000. Here are a couple examples for $1995 or less. 2014 Honda CR-V, a 2017 Toyota Highlander. You got to hurry if you want to buy that one. There are cars for under $12,000 like these two, a 2021 Kia Sportage and an all-wheel drive 2016 Ford Edge. Many of the best cars under $20K can sell before they even get listed on the website. So Kevin Miller recommends you go there and check it out, and you're not going to get a lot of high pressure. They'll say, hey, can I help you? You'll say, yes, you can. No, you can't. And then you'll go away. But everybody is very fun, and it's a very good culture there. And how many times can you say that about any places? The Treasure Valley Subaru and Idaho Center Pre-Owned Superstore, 20 cars under $20K or 50 cars or whatever. They've got a lot of cars. Maybe they only have 10 cars. Don't take my word for it. Go there today. Less pressure, more results. And please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. I always appreciate when they say, hey, man, somebody came in and said you recommended us. Thank you, Kevin Miller. Well, thank you, Treasure Valley Subaru. By the way, in clearing some of our other things before we get back to the phones, this is from our friend Lars Larson, who said, please share this with the good folks of Idaho. Remember, you can catch Lars today at 4 o'clock. We love the big Lars, and Lars always brings it. That guy's always working. Governor Jay Inslee knows what voters will do to his carbon tax. They're going to kill the Climate Commitment Act. 2 years ago, Inslee promised the carbon tax would only add pennies to the cost of gas. Instead, the tax made Washington's gas prices the highest in America. Another reason why we don't want a Boise-ification of Idaho, do we? It stripped billions of dollars from the pockets of citizens and created a slush fund lawmakers can spend on anything. More than 4,000 citizens signed petitions to put the carbon tax to a vote in Initiative 2117. I'm going to vote yes. This week, the No on 2117 forces brought in a major celebrity to pimp their cause. Gotta love a guy that uses that verb. Hanoi Jane Fonda. Boy, we think we have things going on in Idaho. This is actually going on in the state of Washington. Hanoi Jane, the wealthy California actress, came to the Evergreen State. She's got the moniker for befriending North Vietnam while it was busy killing American soldiers. How many of us can forget those iconic pictures? Last year, Fonda explained that white men are to blame for climate change. Oh, always old whitey, isn't it? And proposed that they be arrested and jailed. So let me repeat that one more time. From our friend Lars Larson. I love this. Last year, Fonda explained that whitey, come here, whitey, that white men are to blame for climate change and proposed that they be jailed and arrested. Fonda enjoys a large carbon footprint herself, 2 homes with more than 15,000 square feet of living space, nearly 1,000 miles apart. By the way, you ever notice that? They've got their private jets. They've got their luxury items. You never see one of those climate change people living in a hut somewhere, do you? Except if they have to. She compensates by driving an electric car. Can you imagine a better reason to vote yes on 2117 than hypocrisy like that? Lars Larson, man. Some great stuff from Lars. Appreciate that. Always looking forward to hearing what he has to say today after Sean Hannity. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. A couple of other things going on. You heard Fox News talking about Barack Obama going after men, calling them misogynistic for not supporting Harris, particularly black men, because, well, quite frankly, they believe that a woman should be president. At least that's the assumption. Here we have former Ohio State Senator Nina Turner criticizing Barack Obama and saying that the president is wrong to go after a group that if he's trying to court, which seems strange. Wait for the ding. Thank you, Sweet William.
Appeal to the needs of the voters. And so when I was a delegate for President Obama in both of his elections in Ohio, right now the vice president is down 11 points in Ohio, even though I fully expect President Trump to take Ohio as he did twice, but to be down 11 points compared to President Biden, that is a problem. But this other issue I want to bring up is a problem too. Why are black men being lectured to? Why are black men being belittled in ways that no other voting group? Now, a lot of love for former President Obama, but for him to single out black men is wrong. And some of the black men that I have talked to have their reasons why they want to vote a different way. And even if some of us may not like that, we have to respect it. So unless President Barack Obama is going to go out and lecture every other group of men from other identity groups, my message for Democrats is don't bring it here to black men who, by and large, don't vote much differently from black women. And why? As a politician, we should be trying to get all voters to vote. And hopefully there are a few good men out there who do care about the stripping away of some of women's bodily autonomy. But this is wrong for President Obama. It is a wrong course for the Harris-Waltz campaign to lay at the feet of black men when they have their reasons. In 2020, the vice president was labeled a cop, as we know.
But do you think, sorry to interrupt you, Nina, but do you think he's right? That one of the reasons is because they don't like the idea of a woman.
It might be some listen, black men are socialized in the same society as any other man.
It's so funny. Now if you don't vote for Kamala, now you're a misogynist. If you don't vote for Kamala, it's crazy. Well, don't you think? Can that be possible, Nina? Nina?
Misogyny may be a part of it, but again, is President Obama and is the Harris Waltz campaign going to lecture other male groups in the same way that they're lecturing
This is not just about...
I don't think so.
It's not just about Pennsylvania. It's not just about men. It sounds like there's a concern that there's a broad problem for Vice President Harris with the blue wall. It's basically, according to the poll of polls, no clear leader, a tied race essentially in all three of these.
Yeah, let me get you this real quick because you're not going to get this anywhere else. It's tied in Pennsylvania. It's tied in Michigan. Wisconsin, she's up by 3. She has more money. They're desperate. They're bringing out Obama. And quite frankly, do we really want the incompetency of the Biden administration continuing on? Because actually, she makes him look good, which we thought was impossible. Here is Karine Jean-Pierre on vetting of an Afghan national plotting a terrorist attack, and he was a security guard for the CIA. So we let this guy in, and he was going to do some bad things, plotting a terrorist attack. That the CIA incompetent or stupid or complicit?
Reporting that he was a security guard for the CIA before he came to the U.S. and that he passed 2 rounds of vetting. Does the administration believe there was adequate vetting?
So what I can say is I cannot comment on this directly because it is an active investigation, as you know, that the Department of Justice is currently moving forward with, so I'm going to be really careful. What I can say is every Afghan national who entered the U.S. was screened and vetted by intelligence, law enforcement, counterterrorism professionals, and with every new information that emerges, if that individual could pose a threat to public safety, we take immediate action, and we take that action. And so I'm not going to speak to this particular case, but I can speak more broadly, and that's the actions that we normally take. That's how we move forward. And the president has always been clear, protecting the American people will always be his top priority.
Broadly, what would you say to critics who say there isn't enough vetting in these cases?
What I can say is how I just ended my last question to you. Protecting the American people is the president's top priority.
Yeah. By the way, they're always talking about Donald Trump being vulgar and everything else. Get this one.
Or a car seat. Or diapers. I remember buying diapers. I remember the first time I went in the store right after Malia was born. I was like, what? That's how much diapers cost? I remember changing diapers. You think Donald Trump ever changed a diaper? Yeah. I almost said that, but I decided I shouldn't say it.
Let's go to Cowboy Calvin with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Cowboy Calvin.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. Good morning, Americans. Welcome back, Kevin. You're still the king.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
I want to weigh in on the red light cameras. They're good and bad. It depends on how they use them. There are some cities that install them and cut back the time. They're just a traffic revenue maker. That was their intent, not to stop anyone from running a red light, but to generate more money for their pockets.
You really think so? You don't think it's about safety?
Well, initially they proposed that, but they have ulterior motives. And you're in this system. You're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. When you get a red light camera stop, they think you're guilty, but they got to prove that you were the actual driver, and that's where the discrepancy comes. In some towns, there was the ape man in Portland that they never did catch him. He was dressed up as a gorilla. The ape man is still out there. You're not going to stop people like that.
Well, here's the other thing that's odd. I mean, you go to Portland all the time. Those little Oregon towns, man, they have those cameras everywhere. Ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. Flash, flash, flash.
Yeah, yes, they do. And to get back to law enforcement, those cars have dash cams. They have body cams. So how much camera do you really need? I mean, there are men and women that are assigned to traffic division, and that's what they're supposed to be doing. And a lot of cities just ignore that. They don't want to bother.
I fear it's going to come to all the other. I don't think it'll come to Nampa and Caldwell, but I could see Meridian doing it.
Right. The officer takes a job, he goes out and enforces the law, whatever it might be. You can't ignore it, you know. And if they don't like the dangers involved, they shouldn't be in the profession.
Well, and that's not the police officers, that's the politicians saying that, yeah.
That's right. And the other problem is you get a town with bicycles. The bicycles aren't sighted. They're allowed to go through red lights. So you have to establish that groundwork to begin with, or it'll get out of control. And I've had bicyclists pull in front of me. I almost run them over because they went through a red light. And that's not helping the situation any.
No, I totally agree with you. I like I said, the bikers, you got to be worried about the bikers. They're their own little world.
Right. They think they don't want to share the road, but in reality, they want us to share the road, and they want to have total access. But they have to observe the laws.
That would be nice, wouldn't it? Cowboy Calvin, anything else you'd like to share with us?
I just welcome back, Kevin. I'm glad you're here for us all. The Voice of Freedom, Kevin Miller Show.
Thank you very much. You take care.
Happy trails.
God bless. Happy trails. Great to be back here in Idaho. I do want to thank everybody for your well wishes. And like I said, it was an amazing night at the Javits Center, but it's more amazing being with you. God bless. Keep the faith. Don't go anywhere. Clay and Buck coming up next. Kevin Miller, I still love you. Have a great day.